Hey guys, how's it going? Looks like you guys are here a little early. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna post the links to our social media so we can have people hop in. But if you guys are new here, basically what we do for the weekly chart analysis is I go down our watch list and I basically I mark up all of these zones here. As you can see on our current chart right here, these are the zones from last week. As you can see from last week, price has gone way down here. So there's probably gonna be new zones down here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down the list and I'm going to draw the new zones for every single pair that's on our watch list. You can see right here for some pairs like odds CHF, it's still within the previous zones from last week. So the zones might not have changed very much, but you can see for like other pairs like GJ is the same. Let's see. I'm looking for something that's actually moved a lot since the previous week. So it looks like the only one that really moved a lot was probably OddCAD right here. It's way down here. But we're going to go down every single pair. And if you guys have any specific questions as to any pair you want me to analyze, any trades that you're currently looking at, feel free to put them in the chat. And then I can go over pretty much any questions you guys have, with regards to trading or with regards to any of the K2 strategies. I can pretty much look up, anything you guys want me to look up, and I can give you guys my specific analysis for that specific pair. But like I said, first I'm going to post the link to our social media. And then once I have that ready to go, we can get started. So you guys just sit tight for a little bit. It's going to finish up what I was doing, and I should be done shortly and we can get started. All right, one last thing, the Instagram. All right, let me copy this link. Let me grab this link. Where's the link at? All right, let me post this on the Instagram real quick. Wrong page, sorry guys. Let me get this on the K2 page. All right, cool. Looks like we're good to go, guys. So let's get started. Oh, we got one question right here. All right, cool, guys. So I'm just going to reiterate what I just said earlier. So basically what we do during the weekly chart analysis, if you guys are brand new here, what I do is I go down the watch list. We have all the pairs here that we follow. And what I do is I go down each pair, I clear off all of the old zones from last week, and then I redraw these zones. So if you guys aren't familiar with the K2sr zones, basically, there's zones right here on the chart where price generally has tested these zones in the past. So in order for there to be a new zone created using the K2sr indicator, they have to have been tested at that same exact price point. Like you can see right here, this price point 0.93916. This same exact price has been tested more than 2 times in the past. Like it can't be somewhere near it. It has to be that same exact price point. So the thing is, if that same price point has been tested, the same exact price in the past, odds are that's probably a strong zone where it's going to reject, sometime in the future. So you can see right here, these zones were drawn last week, I think October 19, 18, somewhere around there. And you can see that we drew these zones right here, during that week, but you can see that the same exact zone was tested back on September 24. It was tested again on July 6th, all throughout June, and then into May. So you can see that these zones here are very strong zones that have been tested way back in the past. So this zone was created last week, but the same exact price zone was tested back in March of 2019, June of 2019. Pretty much history always repeats itself. So the thing is, if you have these zones on your chart, it gives you an edge in the market so you know exactly where to trade and where not to trade. Like for example, if you're taking a buy position and you get near the zone right here, odds are you're probably going to want to move the stop loss and profit or exit this trade, because generally what happens when price reaches that zone is it's either going to reject right off it like it did right here, or break through it and continue upwards. So you can see right here, this zone is tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 times right here. It tested enough times until it finally breaks right through it. So obviously, if you're trading with K2, we usually don't like to trade where these zones are. We generally like to trade when price breaks the zone, either above it or below it, but we don't like to trade um, when price gets near the zone, because that creates, a risky area, because one or two things can happen. You can enter a sell here and you can, catch that ride back down, or you can enter a buy and it'll hit your stop loss as it comes back down. So the thing is, you want to make sure that you trade in open areas, like somewhere within here, rather than trade where these zones are, because you're basically gambling when you get to that point, because there's no way to predict, where it's going to go. It can go one way or two ways. It can go down or it can go up. But if you trade within these areas, you can basically take trades when they're in these areas and ride them to the next zone. Because you can see price basically bounces from zone to zone. Like where price currently is right here, price goes from this zone to this zone to this zone to this zone, and it literally just bounces. So the thing is, if you get that set in your mind that, price generally bounces off these zones, you'll know exactly where to trade and where not to trade. So let's see, we have a couple questions here. We have Shamar. Hey, Shamar, how's it going? So Shamar said, can you analyze Euro USD? Yeah, so once I go down the list, I'm basically going to go down these other pairs previously to Euro USD a lot quicker than Euro USD, because people aren't asking for these specific pairs. Basically, I want to do this in order. So if you guys want to go back and rewatch this webinar, you guys will know exactly where to look if you want to see where the markups are for that specific pair. So say you open this video and we're down at Euro odd. If you want to look at my markups for AU, AJ, ACAD, any of these, you can just rewind the replay, a few minutes back, and then you can see exactly where those markups are. But I'm going to go in order, but I do see your question, Shamar. So once we get down to Euro USD, I'm going to take some time on that specific pair so we can analyze this more thoroughly versus these other pairs. If you guys want me to spend more time on specific pairs, feel free to let me know, and I can take more time on those pairs, as we make our way down. Let's see. So Merchabot said, how long does this usually last? So basically this will probably last about 2 hours. It just really depends if we have more questions. If we have more questions coming in, then I'll take more time. There's really no time limit for me here, because I'm going to be trading all day anyway. So if you guys have questions, just feel free to put them down in the chat, and I'll take my time and I'll, go over those specific pairs for you. But generally this will probably last about an hour, 2 hours, maybe even longer than 2 hours, depending if we get more questions. Next question from Velocity is asking, my only question is, how many pairs should someone focus on as a beginner? And do you suggest risking 1% per trade on any instrument? So me personally, if you go and download my watch list here, these are like and if you're applying the K2 strategies, these are the highest probability trades. So all of these pairs right here have over probably a 65 to 75% win rate using the K2 strategy. So I specifically picked these out here. But like you said, if you're a beginner, I'd probably just focus on the major pairs. But there's really no specific asset that I would say to focus on, because they all move their own specific ways. So if you learn how to trade odd cat, or if you learn how to trade the JPY pairs, then they're all going to move pretty similarly. So it just really depends on your preference. I would probably stick to the major pairs or the JPY pairs, because those generally move a lot smoother compared to other pairs like say odd cat over here. It's been moving smoothly recently, but most of the time it doesn't really move that smoothly. You can see right here it consolidated for like a good month or two. Similar with, let's see, GBP, the NZD pairs and the AUD pairs, those move pretty crazy. So I'd probably stay away from those if you're a beginner. But I would say the JPY pairs are probably some of the best ones to trade, because they move pretty smoothly. You can see right here, like odd JPY, it moves super smooth. Similarly with, let's see, CAD JPY, CHF JPY, Euro JPY, GJ, NJ, UJ. See, you can see they move pretty smoothly versus, more of the other minor pairs. So it's really up to you what you want to trade, but I'd probably just stick to the JPY pairs or the major pairs. But you'll see that they all kind of move similarly. So once you learn how to trade one pair, you're going to figure out that you could basically trade all of these here as well. Let's see. And yeah, to your other question as well for the 1%, that's probably the safest bet for you. You should probably just stick with 1%. And then once you get comfortable, you can increase that to 2%, 3%, upwards to 5%. But I never recommend going higher than 5%, because then you would just be over leveraging your account. The thing is, if you're trading 1%, it makes it virtually impossible for you to blow your account, because you'd have to lose like 100 trades like back to back for you to blow your account. And if you stick to your proper risk management, then 1% is going to be perfect for you. But just one caveat. So if you're trading FX and if you're trading indices, those are hugely different assets. So you might think you're trading 1% on indices, but in reality, you're trading like 10%. So I'd be careful. I wouldn't trade indices if you're brand new to trading or if you're a beginner. Just stick with Forex for now, and then you can make your way to, other assets like gold, silver, indices, oil, stuff like that. But yeah, just keep things simple for now and stick to Forex until you get a hang of things. Let's see. Sierra said, when you mark up your chart, how do you get the marked up zones to stay as price moves during the week? So yeah, I think we talked about this in the mentoring session, right? So basically, once you put your zones on the chart, just click on this right here, and it'll save it on your chart. I know you had an issue before, and I think we talked about it, where you'll mark up your chart, then you'll go to another pair, or you'll hit refresh, and then it'll disappear. If you click on this here, it shouldn't disappear because this will save everything on your chart. Just make sure you have all your settings on right here. You have auto save on. And I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything else you need to check off. It might be your internet connection as well. So if your internet connection isn't good, it's probably not saving your chart. So you just got to make sure that it's saved there. Click on it a couple of times. And then make sure that when you refresh your page, so let's see right here, if I refresh it, it's not going to give me a warning. So you can see right there, it didn't give me a warning, right? But see if I move this off the chart a little bit and I don't click this button right here and I try to refresh it, it's going to give me a warning because it's not going to save your data. So make sure that you click on this right here to save it. That should probably be the fix for it. I don't think there's anything else that you can really do to fix it, because I think that's probably the main thing that's the issue. I don't think there's any other options here. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I click on here, but yeah, the only thing that I can think of is this auto save right here. Just make sure that it's on, and then make sure that you click on this to save it every time you're done, marking up your charts. Yeah, I mean, it should stay. It should stay. I don't know why it wouldn't, because if you save your charts that way, it should just stick there. The only reason it would change is if, say, if you mark it up on your computer and then you open up your phone and you delete everything on your chart, it's gonna save, and then that's probably why you don't have it on your chart when you reopen it. So I would just recommend that you don't open the chart on your phone or just delete the app, because that's an issue that I had in the past. Sometimes I'd mark up my chart here, I'd save it, I open TradingView up on my phone just to look at my trades. And, I accidentally hit this trash button right here, because when you're on your phone, you kind of miss things because there's so many buttons everywhere, and you might have accidentally hit this and then it would have automatically saved. So once you opened up your chart again, your stuff was probably not there anymore. So if you don't need to look at, I know we talked about you like trading while you're at work, but I would just stay off the charts unless you can pull it up on a computer, because if you pull it up on your phone, you might accidentally delete all your stuff. So you can see right here, we have everything right here. But let me just do it on this chart because we're going to remark this up anyway. So like right here, if you had this here, you actually delete it, it's all going to disappear off your chart. But there we go. I put it right back on. That'd probably be the main fix for it. I don't think there's anything else that you can really do, because if you click that, it should automatically save on your chart. Mercy Boss said, is there a Zoom link for this? Yeah, there's a Zoom link for it, but you should just stay on the YouTube because that's where everyone is. I don't think there's anyone on the Zoom. It would be the same thing anyways. If you're on the YouTube or if you're on the Zoom, you're still going to be asking questions the same way. So it wouldn't really make a difference. So if you have any questions, just feel free to put them here on the YouTube and I can get to your questions. You can go on the Zoom if you have it. You have to be an older member to have a Zoom link, because I don't share that anymore since we're on YouTube primarily. But if you do have the link, I mean, you could feel free to join on there as well. But I'm probably not going to get to your questions if you ask questions on the Zoom. So I'm more focused on the YouTube now. But yeah, okay. So I think that's it for the. Oh, okay, I see. So if it looks blurry for you, click on settings and then change the quality to a higher number. Does anyone else here have issues with the screen looking blurry? I don't think we had that issue before. I'm not sure if it's your internet connection or if you're just on the lower one. Here, sorry, I'm gonna move this over because I don't think you can see my screen. Yeah, so if you're on the YouTube, just click on this right here. You click on the settings and then you click on the quality and just put it on the highest one, which is 720, or it might be 1080p for you, depending on how high your internet connection is. I'm not sure does anyone else have an issue? If you guys have issues, can you guys just say something so I can make sure? Because I don't think we've had this issue before. So if there's an issue here, I just want to make sure we can fix it for future recordings. Let's see, Hamdi Williams said, so, hey, so JPY pair or any other pair is the best and smoother pair to trade as a newbie. Hamdi, so yeah, what I recommend is either trading the JPY pairs or the major pairs. If you're not familiar with the major pairs, they're basically all the pairs that are paired with the USD. So AUD USD, Euro USD, GBP USD, NZD USD, USD CAD, and USD CHF. So those are the major pairs. And then on top of that, you can trade the JPY pairs as well. All right, cool. Yeah, Harry says his screen is clear. So Merciba, I think you just need to change your settings for the quality, and then it should probably fix it. So let me just do something real quick. All right, cool. So it looks like we're good to go. I think we're all done with the questions here. So let's get started with marking up the charts. It's getting close to 6, so that's going to be our first 4-hour candle close to take any new trades for the weekend. I mean, for the new week. So we're gonna try to get a lot of stuff out of the way before then. But I'm gonna, if it comes close to 6, I'm just gonna zoom through the charts real quick to see if there's any entries. If not, we'll just go through with marking up the charts for you guys. So let's get started with odd CAD over here. So basically for odd CAD, I'm gonna go from scratch, especially for the new people here. Basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete everything from the chart. You can see right here, this is a naked chart, nothing on the chart. So this is what a normal chart would look like, right? Basically, how we start off here, we're going to turn on the K2sr version 2 indicator. And then you can see that these zones get placed on the chart, right? So once these zones get placed on the chart, I'm going to pull up my rectangle tool right here. And then I'm going to draw my own zones over these K2sr zones so I can have a cleaner view of the charts. So once I'm all done with this, I'm going to take it off the chart and then we can start looking for the strong zone. So basically, here, I'm going to show you guys this as well. Basically, if these zones are overlapping, like you can see that they're pretty close, instead of drawing multiple zones, because technically you can draw 1, 2, 3 zones right here, instead of drawing like 3 small zones where it's kind of hard to see, like something like this. I mean, you guys can do it if you really want those small zones on the chart, but I recommend just drawing one big zone. So technically, you can draw zones like that right there. Let me hide this right here. You can draw small zones like that right there, but instead of doing that, I recommend just drawing one big zone. So instead of drawing 3 zones, I just draw one big zone right here. Similarly, right here, there's a couple of zones. I'm just going to put those all together into one big zone. And same situation with these right here. It just makes things a whole lot easier, and it'll prevent you from wanting to take these small little trades within each zone here. So once I have those drawn up, I'm going to turn off the indicator. I'm going to zoom out, and you can see right here that it's pretty much the same zones from last week. But like I mentioned before, if you have these zones on the chart, you can see exactly where price is likely to reject from, because you can see price goes from zone to zone to zone, and literally just bounces from zone to zone. So the thing is, if you're entering a buy right here, you can exit before it reaches the zone. As it comes back down, you can enter a sell, and you can exit before it reaches this zone as well. And it pretty much just repeats itself over and over again. As you can see right here, we don't have a lower zone. So in order to get that lower zone, I'm going to turn the indicator back on. I'm going to go in the higher time frame. We're currently on the 4 hour. I'm going to go in the 8 hour. There's nothing there. I'm going to go in the daily. And as you can see right here, there is a zone. So there's one zone right here. I'm just going to draw a horizontal line just to have that in mind right there. But the real zone is going to be way down here. So this is going to be the next zone. As price drops further, we'll go back to the 4 hour. I'm going to hide the K2sr indicator. So you can see right here that we have these zones over here. In order to analyze this trade, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the K2sr indicator. I mean the K2 momentum indicator. And this is where the magic happens. So basically right here, you can see that we have the zones marked up, right? And you can see that we have the sell signal right here, right? So if we had the sell signal, we'd enter a sell position right here. And then you'll know exactly where to exit or where to move your stop loss and profit, because you can see price comes down from that area. Same situation right here. We have a buy signal, right? So once this once the price breaks the zone right here, so price broke the zone right here, and we have a buy momentum right here, we take a buy position over here, and we ride that pretty much to this next zone over here for about 44 pips right there. Once price reaches this area, we move our stop loss and profit over here. And then if price was to pull back, you get stopped out in profit for about 44 pips. And it's a rinse and repeat thing. Like literally right here, we got a sell signal. You could have taken a sell position and, rolled that down right there. Same situation right here with this buy signal. So we got a buy signal, price broke the zone right here. You take a buy position right here and you ride that up for 84 pips. And it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. So like right here, price came above. It broke the zone right here. However, it's so close to this next zone up here, about 13, about 13, 12 pips. And, it's way too close because the spread's about 2 pips. So you're going to have to pay 4 pips going in and out of the trade. So it's just too risky. So what we'd probably wait for is for price to break this zone up here and close above here. And then if it did that, we can enter a buy position right here. Next zone right there is about 24 pips. So if price was to break that zone, we could pretty much ride this up this direction. And once price reaches this area, we can move our stop loss and profit over here, because generally what happens is price reaches the zone right here. It could do one of two things. Like I mentioned before, it can either reject off it and come back down. It'll stop you out in profit, or it can continue upwards to the next zone. So that's just the way that we analyze these trades. And you can see that's super simple. If you have these zones here, you know exactly where to trade and where not to trade. So let's see. So yeah, basically this is where price currently is. This upper zone right here is going to be at 0.93913. And we're going to ignore this lower zone here because it's just too close. I'll give you guys this zone way down here. So this lower zone over here is going to be 0.90589. So basically, if we get a sell signal here, you can see we got a sell signal right here, right? When price broke the zone right here, we took a sell position right here, and then we caught about 70 pips off that trade. Same situation right here. Price broke the zone right here. We got a sell signal, and then we pretty much rode that down for another W right there. So the thing is with this, we have a buy momentum, but say if it rejects off this zone right here, like say price comes up, it rejects off here, or price comes up to here and then rejects off it, and then we get a sell signal like we did right here, then we would take another short position and pretty much ride this thing down, because the next zone is until way down here. So price could literally come all the way down here, and we can just ride that wave down if we get a sell signal. However, we don't have a sell signal yet, so it provides for no sell entry. We currently have a buy signal, so we have a buy bias right now until we see otherwise. Let's see. So we have one question from Velocity. Velocity's asking, what's the better strategy for intraday? The pullback zone, SR1, or pivots? I mean, like 1 hour in today, out today trades. So most of our trades are intraday trades, and the strategy that I use for that is the let me see if I could pull this up here. The strategy that I use for that is the K2sr zone trading strategy. So it'd be this one right here. If you have access to the course, this is what the course looks like. It has all the basics right here: intro to Forex, the trading view tools and functions, trend lines, support resistance, basically all the foundations that you need to trade the K2 strategies. But velocity, so the strategy that I use for all of the Forex entries would be this one right here, the K2sr Zone trading strategy with intraday setting. So I trade on the 4-hour time frame, and this is the only strategy that I use for all the signals. So if you guys were following all the trades from this week, see all these full TPs right here. We came up with, let's see, 12 wins and 2 losses last week. Last week we thought it was gonna be a bad week, but it was actually a great week. And for all these wins right here, this is the strategy that I used for all the signals. So if you want to trade exactly like how I trade for the signals, this would be the only Forex strategy that I use currently. You can use all of these as well, but I just trade on the 4-hour time frame now. So this strategy works perfectly for intraday trading on the 4-hour time frame. And that's exactly what I was going over right here. For these entries that I was just discussing, that was the K2sr Zone trading strategy. So if you want to trade exactly how I am currently, you can use this strategy. I do use the K2 pivots for scalping. I do use the K2 daily US 30 strategy for just US 30 for the New York session. So it just depends on what you want to trade, but this is what I recommend if you want to trade intraday. And you can use this for all assets. You can use this for Forex, you can use it for US 30, you can use it for indices, oil, gold, anything literally. So I would focus on learning this one if you want to trade exactly how I do, but it doesn't take away from any of these other strategies. The other strategies still work perfectly fine, but this strategy is based on the 30-minute. So I don't trade 30-minute anymore because I don't want to be on the screen all day. But if you want to trade on the shorter time frames, like all of these work perfectly fine. But since I trade on the 4-hour, I focus mainly on this one right here. John said, how well does the K2 strategy work for scalping? Thing is, it doesn't. So you can see right here that it only indicates intraday and swing. I mean, you can go and try it if you want, but this strategy is based on intraday and swing trade. It's not meant for scalping, because the thing is, if like how we were analyzing these trades here, if you were analyzing this on the shorter time frame, you can see that there's a lot of noise on the shorter time frame. It's not going to be very easy for you to catch when price breaks these zones right here. I mean, it's not to say that it doesn't work, but I wouldn't say that you could catch intraday. It's an intraday strategy. So if you try to use this for scalping, you can see that price doesn't go from, so price broke the zone. It doesn't go way up here to test the zone on the 10-minute time frame. So I don't recommend it. You can try if you want. It'll probably work like on indices, something that moves faster. But for Forex, the thing is, you can be holding this trade for like 4 to 8 hours, and that session is going to be over. When that session's over, you're not going to have volatility with that specific pair. So that's why it's meant to be used for intraday trading, not for scalping. It just really depends on, what you're trading, but I wouldn't use it for scalping on the Forex trades. All right, Brian, so can you analyze Euro NZD? So yeah, once we get down to that pair, I'll take time on that. I think we only have 2 pairs that people are asking for right now. Or 3 pairs now for Brian's asking for USD/CHF. So we had 1 question for EU. We have another one for EN. And we have another one for USD/CHF. So once I get down to that specific pair, I'll take time on those so that you guys can see exactly, my analysis on those specific pairs for price currently. But I'm going to keep going down the list as we go. So I think that's it for the current questions. Let me see here. So Hamidi said, so all your signals sent in the Telegram chat is 4-hour time frame we most set them on. Yeah, Hamidi. So if you look at all the signals are sent at the same time every single day, because I trade on the 4-hour time frame. So you can see right here that they're all sent around 6 p.m., 10 p.m. If you're familiar with how the 4-hour time frame works, it's basically, for my time zone, I'm Pacific Daylight Savings Time. The 4-hour candle close happens at 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 2 p.m., 6 p.m., and 10 p.m. So basically, 2, 6, 10 every single day, with morning and at night. So if you look at all of the signals that I send out, they're all sent at the same time. See 6 a.m. right here. The next one is sent at 6 p.m. and then 10 p.m. So basically all of them are sent at that specific time every single day. Let's see. Brian said, how do you upload the watch list again? So if you go to the website and then you go here to K2 watch list, you can download that. Just click on that, click download watch list. You go to trading view right here, click this drop down menu right here, and then click import list. And then when you do that, it'll come up right here, and then you can upload it to your trading view. Let's see. Harry said, do you find the 4-hour more risky for FTMO due to pullback? Not at all, not for Forex. If you're trading indices, yeah, obviously, because indices are worth way more than Forex and they move a lot faster. But for Forex, it doesn't really make a difference because it's Forex moves a lot slower compared to indices and other assets. So it doesn't really make it that much risky. The only reason it'll make it risky is if you're over leveraging. Because the thing is, if you're using proper risk, like you're using 1%, it's not going to make a difference if it moves faster or if it moves slow. But if you're using like a 10% risk, then yeah, obviously it's going to make a huge difference versus, using a proper risk size, because generally you're going to be risking way too much. A 10% risk is like your max loss for FTMO. So I wouldn't do that. But it wouldn't really make a difference if you're trading, Forex, indices, gold, oil, any other metals. It just really depends on what your risk is, because everything's going to be based off your lot size, which equates to your risk. Let's see. Merch Boss said, can we take a look at NZD CAD too? Yeah, so let me just write these down so I could, I want to make sure I don't forget. So we have Euro NZD, we have Euro USD, we got NZD CAD for Merciba, NZD CAD, and then we have USD CHF for Brian as well. So we got 4 pairs right now that I'm probably going to focus on as I go down the watch list. We currently have Euro NZD, Euro USD, NZD CAD, and USD CHF. So it looks like, all these questions are starting to add up right now. So I'm going to start focusing on going down the zone analysis for all the pairs. And then I'm going to focus on those specific pairs that you guys asked for. So I'm not going to go into any deep analysis unless you guys ask for that specific pair, just for the sake of time, because we've already been on this for about, I don't know, like 30 minutes to an hour now. Maybe not that long. I think at least like 30 minutes. So yeah, 35 minutes. So I'm just going to try to zoom through this so we're not on too long. I know a lot of you guys have stuff to do. So I just want to make sure that you guys have these zones on your chart, to kick off the trading week. So let's check out odds CHF right here. I'm going to delete all of the zones off the chart. I'm going to turn on the K2sr indicator, zoom out from here. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. You guys saw how I did on the first one already, so you guys understand what I'm doing here. But you guys can see that I can do this pretty quickly within a few seconds, or up to a minute or so. You guys can have all of these zones marked up on your chart pretty easily, and then it gives you guys an edge as you guys analyze for entries for the week. All right, we got those marked up. And the reason I'm speeding up right now too is because it's about to be 6, so I have to look for trades shortly. I just want to make sure that we have enough time. So I'm just going to mark this one up, and I'm going to start looking for trades to see if there's anything we can take off this 4-hour candle close. So you can see right there, I drew all these zones within a few seconds. Turn off the K2sr indicator, and there you go. You have everything lined up perfectly. So if you go back, you can see that these zones were marked up today, but these same zones were tested way back in the past. So you can see these same zones were tested in June. We're in October now, that's months later. Again, right here in May, same exact zone from this week, right? Way back over here in February. So you guys can see if you guys have these zones marked up on your chart, it gives you a huge edge in the market because these same exact price points have been tested way in the past. Like, check this out, August 2019. It's more than a year later. And the same exact price point where price is currently was testing the same exact time last year. So I'm going to go back to where price currently is. And so this the closest upper zone right here is going to be 0.64604, and this lower zone down here is going to be 0.63822. So we have 5 minutes until this candle closes. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to look for trades. We left off on odd CHF, so in about, give me about 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to scan through all of the pairs, see if there's any entries. If there is, I'll call some trades right now live, and you guys can take them, since you guys are here in the room. Otherwise, I'm going to post them in the premium as well. So let me go down the list real quick, and then I'll get back to the chat. I see your question right there, Hamidi. So I'm going to take a look at that once I'm done analyzing these pairs. All right, so here's odd CAD. There's no entry here, like I mentioned before, because you have a buy signal, but price is way too close to this zone right here. So I'm not going to take a buy position there. If price was to close above here, you got a sell signal and then it came right back down, then I would take a sell. But right now, there's currently no entries available. So I'm just going to skip this, go on to the next one, odd CHF. Same situation right here. We have a buy signal. If this candle was to close above the zone right here, then it would provide for a long position entry right here. And then we could pretty much ride this to this next zone up there. But right now, price is below the zone, hasn't broken above it. So we're not going to call any trades for that right now. Same situation right here for odd JPY. We have a buy signal. However, price hasn't broken the zone right here. If price was to break above it, we can take a buy position right here and then ride that to the next zone for about 40 pips, right? But price hasn't broke yet, so there's no entry. If we get a sell signal, then we'll probably ride. This will probably come up, test this. If we get a sell signal, we'll take it on its way back down. However, we don't have a sell signal right now, and price hasn't broken a zone, so we're not going to take any trades for that currently. This is a trade from last week. So we took this odd NZD right here. It's still technically active. We actually hit TP2 down here. And generally, if you're familiar with the K2 strategies or the K2 exit strategies, basically once price reaches TP1 or TP2, what we do is we move our stop loss to that specific price point, like somewhere down here. And then if price was to reject off that area and shoots right back up, you get stopped out and you guarantee profit. That's exactly what I did. So I got out at TP2 down here. But if you guys are still in this trade, it's still active and it still has opportunity to hit full TP. So I think this trade is okay right now if you guys are still in it. But there's no new entry right now. So I'm not going to be taking this or calling anything for that. Odd USD. So right here, when price broke, so price came back down and then price broke the zone right here. This would have been the buy entry for it. However, I don't know if we called this. Let me look at our results from last week. Odd USD. So we did take this trade. At some point, we hit 50 pips right there on Monday. So on the 19th over here, and we already hit TP right there. But this this would have been the entry if you took this entry on the 21st. I don't think we called that trade. I think there was news during that time. So technically this would still be running if you guys had this trade active, but there's no new entry right now. So I'm not going to be calling anything for odd USD. This could actually be a decent sell entry right here. So this is what I was talking about. Let me just make sure that the zones are good. All right, so it's not that good because the problem with this trade right here is that there's a new zone that was created right there, right? Because you can see the K2sr zones. So that's why we have to update the zones weekly to make sure, or even daily in some instances, if price reaches a certain area, to make sure we didn't enter. So if we entered a sell right here, we might have been screwed because it's still within the zone. As you can see right here, the old zone was a lot closer, but the zone spread out during the week. So now this is the new zone. If price breaks below here, then it could provide for a sell entry. But until then, let me see if there's a lower zone right here as well. So it's still a risky trade because if you look here on the 8 hour, there's still a zone down here as well. So even if price was to break this zone, the problem is it's only about 6 pips away from the next zone. So if you don't want to enter a sell position here, because this could happen, it could reject right off it, and then you're going to be screwed because you're going to be into that sell position right at the rejection point. So we're going to avoid this trade. There's nothing there to take. All right, let me take a look at this trade right here. All right, 6 o'clock, guys. I'm just gonna have to zoom through this real quick. Sorry if I'm moving too fast for you guys, but I just want to make sure that there's no entries that we miss off this candle close. So I don't think there's anything there. Nothing there. And it's fine because today is Sunday. So if you guys are, familiar with how the market moves, basically the market's pretty slow on market open. So it's not a big deal if we miss any trades right now. Because the thing is, we could probably make a late entry at 10 p.m. anyways off the next 4-hour candle close. So this technically would have been, let's see. I mean, yeah, this could technically be a sell entry right here. But I'm going to look at the other JPY pairs. I'm going to correlate them, make sure that they all look pretty decent before I call this trade. I'm just going to mark it up. And what I mean by that is I generally set a highlighter right there because what I anticipate is this to come down and test this next zone right here. And then as it does that, it's going to hit our full TP on its way down. Let me just check out the other JPY pairs. I just want to make sure they're all bearish. Something that I like to do to make sure that, I'm trading the proper direction. So all the JPY, actually, some of them are kind of mixed. So all these up here, AJ, CJ, EJ, they're all coming down bearish, but GJ right here is bullish. NJ is kind of bearish, but it's kind of going sideways. And UJ right here is actually bearish as well. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make sure that the Euro pairs are all weak. So if they're all bearish, then that's going to give me extra confirmation that this is probably going to be a good entry. So looking at all of the Euro pairs right here, they all kind of look bearish, right? No, let's see. Not so much for Euro CAD, Euro odd, yes. Euro CHF, yes. EG, yes. EJ, kinda. EN, yes. EU, yes. So basically, the way that you would analyze this is if you're looking at all of these Euro slash pairs, so basically Euro is on the left side. If they're all coming down, the odds are the Euro is weak because if you guys are familiar with how price moves, so it kind of moves this way. If price is coming down, that means that the second currency is stronger than the first currency. It's gaining in strength. So basically, if price is coming down here, it's demonstrating that the euro is weak versus the US dollar. So if you go down the list right here and you see that the euro odd is coming down, that means that the Australian dollar is stronger than the euro. Same with the euro CAD. If it's coming down, the Canadian dollar is stronger than the euro. Same with euro CHF. It's coming down right here. The Swiss franc is stronger than the euro. EG, it's coming down. The GBP is stronger than the euro. So right here, we're looking at EJ and it's coming down as well. So if they're all coming down, that's going to indicate a hint that the euro is weak right now. So if you were to sell this trade, odds are it's probably going to come down. And then using the other JPY pairs as extra confirmation, like the AJ right here, it's coming down as well. It's going to give you confirmation that the JPY is actually pretty strong right now across the board. However, it's not strong for every single pair. So it's strong for AJ, strong for CAD JPY, CHF JPY, and Euro JPY. However, it's not strong for GJ over here. Sort of going sideways for NJ, but for UJ over here, it's coming down. So this gives you a lot of confirmations indicating that, price is likely to continue down. And if it does continue down, it's probably going to continue down to this next zone over here. So if that happens, it'll hit our full TP before coming to the zone and either rejecting off it or breaking through it and continuing down further. But I'm going to hold off on this now. It does look like a decent sell trade. So if you guys want to take it, you guys are more than welcome. However, I'm going to hold off on it because, like I mentioned, the market just opened, so it hasn't stabilized yet. It's only 6 p.m., so the Asia market is open. That's probably why it's coming down because, all of the orders from the weekend are starting to fill and the JPY is price strong. It's like a manipulated move because price comes like market just open. So you're going to have a lot of orders coming in that specific direction. However, once it hits midnight, the next 6 hours, when the London session opens, the euro might shoot right back up. So that's why I'm not going to force any trades right now because it's still a risky time to be trading. But yeah, this is something to possibly look at. I'm not going to call it as an official call just yet because I'm not 100% convinced that it's going to continue down. So we'll hold off on that right now. Let me just make sure there's nothing else here available before we go back to our analysis of the charts for the week. So nothing there. It's stuck within the zone. Euro USD, it's a buy signal. If price breaks above the zone right here, then we could take a buy position. However, we have no break of the zone, so we're going to avoid that for now. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, nothing. Wait. Yeah, so this broke the zone last week on Friday before market close. So we're not going to consider that an entry because a lot of things can happen over the weekend, causing it to reverse or come back the opposite direction. Yeah, it looks like there's nothing here right now, which is it's no surprise because the market just opened. You can see volatility super dead. It's barely moving. So maybe we keep looking at this later, but currently I'm not going to call this trade right now. Okay, so let me go back to Hamid's question. So now we're going back to the charts. Hamid said you or in CAUSA. And if you enter those 4-hour candles on say 15 or 30 minute type, you will lose the trade or it will just move different. CA is California, if there is where you're located. Okay, just want to know your time zone because I'm in Jamaica. Yeah, Hamdi, so I'm located in California, which is Pacific Daylight Savings Time. And if you enter the signals off any other time frame, it's not going to make a difference because the trade's already analyzed on the 4-hour time frame. But if you're taking the trades on your own, it's obviously going to make a huge difference because, so I'm just going to use this as an example, odd CHF. So right here, it's clearly in a downtrend, right? But if you're trading on the 15 minute, like you mentioned, it might not be considered a downtrend where price currently is. So obviously, if you're trading on different time frames, it's going to make a huge difference. So you have to specifically focus on that specific time frame you're trading on. But if you're taking signals, it's not going to make any difference because I've already analyzed the trade on the 4-hour. So it doesn't make a difference if you enter on the 30 minute, the 15 minute, 10 minute, because the whole setup has already been confirmed on the 4-hour time frame. So if I call a trade on the 4-hour and then you have your chart open on the 30 minute and you take the same trade, it's not going to make any difference. The only difference is if you're applying a different strategy on a different time frame, because that's going to make a huge difference. But if you're just copying my trades, it's not going to make a difference at all. All right, guys, 1 second. I'm going to turn on my lights. All right, cool. So we're back to analyzing these charts. We did look at odd CHF last, so next pair is going to be odd JPY. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the same thing I did for every other pair. I'm going to delete the current zones, and then we're going to draw these new zones on the chart. So I'm going to pull up this rectangle tool. You guys can see how easy this is. Literally, you're just drawing over the K2sr zones and creating your own zones. You guys don't have to do this where you draw your own zones, but for me, I think it's a lot easier because it's kind of hard to see where these zones are without having it filled in. And it doesn't take that much time. It takes a few seconds to mark up these zones, and those few seconds can make all the difference in your trading game. All right, so we got all these zones right here lined up for odd JPY. I'm gonna turn off the K2sr indicator. So odd JPY looks like it's consolidating from just going sideways. Basically, these same zones that we drew from this week are the same price areas have been tested months back. So it's tested it back in June. It's tested it all throughout June until now in October. So these are some pretty strong zones right here. And the closest upper zone right here is going to be 74.858. And this lower zone right here is going to be 74.365. So that's it for AJPY right here. I can just turn on the momentum indicator, give you guys the bias. Looks like we have a sell signal forming right here. If this closes, then we can probably take a sell position to this next zone right here. But that's it for AJPY. Let me move on to the next one. Next one's AUD-NZD. It looks like price might have not changed much. So let me just turn on the SRs. I just want to make sure that they're still lined up. So if they're still lined up, there's no need for us to draw new zones, because you can see right here that these same zones, so these zones right here are lined up from last week. If I hide this, you can see that the zones are still in the same exact areas. So this saves us time and effort, having to redraw these zones, because I've already drawn these zones from last week. Since it hasn't changed that much, we're just going to leave the same zones up from last week. And then the closest upper zone right here is going to be 1.06718, and this lower zone down here is going to be 1.06523. Thanks, Dwayne. So Dwayne said Jamaica time is 12 a.m., 4 a.m., 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. So it's basically the same thing as here the U.S. time. It's just that you guys are before us by 2 hours. So instead of 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., it's going to be 12 a.m., 4 a.m., 8 a.m. for you guys. So it's not a huge difference. It's just a 2-hour difference. And it should be easy for you guys to calculate. It doesn't seem like it's too difficult. Hamidi said, okay, got you, because most of the time I forget to change the time frame. That's why I asked you. Thank you, K2, Shawn. Yeah, definitely, Hamidi. So, basically if you're just copying my trades, like if I send the trade like I did last week, like these right here, like this AUD-NZD trade. So if I sent this trade at 10 p.m. on the 4-hour time frame, and you enter it on any time frame, really, you can enter it on the 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute. It wouldn't make a difference, because my analysis was already drawn up on the 4-hour. So the thing is, regardless of what time zone you're trading on, it's gonna reach that same point either way. So the thing is, if I call this trade, I wouldn't analyze it on the shorter time frames, because it's going to confuse you. But it should play out exactly how I analyze it, regardless of whatever time frame that you're taking it on. But okay, so let's keep going down the list. So that's AUD-NZD right there. Next one's AUD-USD. So I'm just going to delete all these zones. Here we have a clean chart. I'm going to redraw these zones up for you guys. So we got that upper zone right there. Got this lower zone right here. Another one right here. All right, cool. So we got all these zones right here lined up. It looks like there's a lot of space right here. So it's in some open space over here. So if we do have, let me see what we have here. We do have a buy signal right here. This is the same one that I went over earlier. Basically, when price broke this zone right here, it would have created for a buy entry, either right here or down here. So technically, this would be an active trade, and I would anticipate it to shoot on upwards. However, since we're entering a brand new week, anything can happen, really. This was created, like this buy momentum signal was on the 18th. That's like nearly almost a week away. So the thing is, market changes, from week to week. The price generally ranges. It goes back and forth. So even though price was coming up from last week, it can come right back down. However, it looks like it's going to continue up right here. So if you guys are in this position, if you guys took this entry last week, it still looks good. However, it doesn't provide for any new entry right now. So I'm not going to call anything here, but it does have a buy bias. And the upper zone right here is going to be 0.71912. And this lower zone down here is going to be 0.71144. So if you guys don't catch these numbers that I'm saying out loud, just remember that the numbers are here on the side as well. So while I'm saying it, you guys can look here to the right, and it'll have the same exact numbers that I'm calling out right here on the right side, just if you guys haven't noticed that. But yeah, those are the 2 zones for AUD USD right there. Once we have an entry, I'll call it, but currently we don't have one right now. Let's see. John said, if we enter a trade on a buy signal and later on we get a sell signal, the trade's still valid. Yeah, John. So basically when that happens, it could be a fake out that's being created by the market makers. Like generally if there's, so say if we're in a buy position, right here, and then say there's news right now, the news can spike price down and create a sell signal, but that doesn't mean that it's a valid entry. Price could have just been manipulated from the news, or something could have happened in the world. Trump could have tweeted. Like there's a ton of different things that can happen, but I would still stick with the original position if you're already in that position. I wouldn't just, get out of the trade and then go the opposite way, because if you do that, you can be falling for a trap right there. So it's just going to come with a lot of practice. Like I know right now, you might be questioning whether you're trading the right direction or not. But over time, if you keep applying the same strategy over and over again, you're going to see that patterns keep forming. And if you focus on that original position that you had, more times than not, it's probably going to play out. So that's just my advice. I know some people get scared and if they see an opposite signal, they want to get out of that trade. And you can get out of the trade if you're in profit and then just wait for another entry. But me personally, you can see that whenever I call a signal, I never give adjustments. Like if I call that signal, I think that signal is going to hit. And, there's a lot of fake outs that happened last week, but look at the results from last week. If we got scared and we pulled out of trades, we wouldn't have hit all these full TPs right here. So if you're going to take a trade and, if you're fully confident with your trade, then just stick with it. Because if you don't, you might get caught in some traps and then you could have missed out on all these trades from last week. So that's just my advice. I've been trading for a while, so I have thick skin. With these markets, I don't get, confused with these little traps that they set up. And I just stick to the trade because overall, you guys have seen our results for the whole year so far. They've been pretty decent. So if you just stick to your plan and you don't get caught in any of those traps and you don't get scared with any of your trades, you can end up pretty profitable if you just keep sticking to your plan. And that's all the advice I can give for you right now. Let's see what else we got here. Sorry, I'm just like zooming through this chat to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So I see some other conversations going on. So Keith right here said, are the Forex, the indices called in the same private chat? Yeah, Keith. So if you're in the K2 Premium, they're all sent in the same group right here. Because the only indice trade that I trade is the daily US 30 entry. So you're going to see all of them sent here in the K2 Premium Signals channel. And pretty much everything I take is sent in this chat right here. Or not chat, it's just the broadcast channel because nobody else can post in here, just me. Javi said, okay, cool, Shawn. I notice most of the time when you post them and I forget to change the time frames, it spikes in profit quickly for me, and I'm normally on the 15 and 30 minutes. Yeah, so that's the main difference that you'll see, because on the 4 hour, obviously each candle is worth 4 hours. So like, let's say, say if I just like create, let me see if I could like a date range right here. So if you see this right here, this is like 8 hours, right? Or 12 hours. So this is a small little movement here, but if you go on the, like you said, you trade on the 15 minute, you can see that this is a huge difference in time. So that's why I don't recommend that you look at the shorter time frames, because if you look at these shorter time frames, it's going to look way different. So right here, it looks like there's a ton of movement, right? But it's only like so many pips. Like you can see this movement from here, it's only about 20 pips. But if you're on the 4 hour time frame that I'm trading on, it doesn't look like it really moved that much. So I don't recommend you look on the shorter time frames, because it's going to play with your mind. You're going to be like, oh, it's moving so much, but in reality, it's not really moving all that much. Velocity said, are you scalping US 30 with any strategy? Yeah, Velocity. So I'm not sure if you were part of the chat before, but I think the last time I scalped was when I needed to pass MTMO in like one day. So I think, yeah, it was right here. So these were my, for these profits right here. So I made about 12,000 in one day, just scalping US 30. Basically, I started with like a 1,800 and then it kept going up to 7,000 and then went up to 8,000 and then it went up to 9,000 and then went up to 11,000. And I was like, all right, cool. I passed FTMO in one day, but I'm going to, I'm going to throw another win in there for 12,000 just to make sure that I passed. But for these specific trades that I took right here, I was using the K2 pivot strategy. So it would be this one right over here. So if you go to the K2 trade scalping strategies, I was using this one right here, the K2 trades pivot scalping strategy. And this is the only strategy that I use when I scalp. There's other strategies here as well, but I feel like this one's probably the most accurate one currently with how the market's been moving, especially with how volatile it's been. But you can use the other ones as well. But I do recommend you just stick to this one right here, the K2 pivot scalping strategy. Okay, so it looks like we're done with the questions here. I'm going to keep going down the list over here. And we've taken a lot of time on this. So we went over AUD/USD. I'm not sure if I gave the parameters. I'll give it to you guys again. The upper zone right here is 0.71912. And this lower zone down here is going to be 0.71147. Let's move on to the next one, CAD CHF. Velocity is asking what's the difference between WS30 and US30. So WS30 is the same thing. It's just a symbol that's used for FTMO. Each broker calls it different. So I'm not sure what broker you're using, but most brokers call it US30. Some brokers call it DJ30. Some call it Dow 30. Some call it USA 30. It just really depends on the broker. The symbol is just a different name, but it's the same exact thing. One difference with FTMO is that they use futures data. So it's still US 30, but they use the futures data. So it's off by like 120 pips, which is really not that much. And you'll see when I post signals. So if I post a signal, daily US 30, when I post a signal, I'll post the normal US 30 entry, and this is from Hugo's Way. Because I trade my personal account in Hugo's Way, but then for FTMO, it's just a little different. So you can see right here, the entry was 28434. The difference right here was 28316. So if you do the math on that, you just subtract 434 minus 316. It's only 118 pip difference. It's not a huge difference. A lot of people make a big deal out of this, but it's not a huge difference. You just subtract the 120 or you add the 120 to whatever you're trading on. Velocity said, and just so you know, on TradingView, there's a function to share your charts. I say because you just gave your parameters. Yeah, I think it's available if I share. Yeah, so if I share it right here, I could. I mean, it's not off. It's on. So every time I share a trade, I have the link there. So if you ever want to pull up the trade, you just click on the link and it pulls up right there. I don't know if you notice that velocity, but all my charts are shared on the trades that I send out. Whenever I send out a trade, I always send out my chart. So it's there as well if you want to, ever pull that up. Yeah, I give my parameters because they're different velocities. I mean, but if you look at them here, they're the same thing. So if I go here, you can see that they're different. Well, because the FTMO is different. It's not going to match up with the TradingView parameters. Because the thing is, on TradingView, this is the chart I send you. But if you look at FTMO, these parameters, price is going to be way down here, and price isn't currently at that price. So that's why I can't send you guys a chart for FTMO. Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, velocity. Thanks for bringing that up. I know a lot of people don't realize that as well. But all the parameters are here on the side as well. Like whenever I'm calling it parameters, they're going to be right here on the right panel. Let's see. How many said, tell me how to pass FTMO in one day, Shawn. Help me pass by Tuesday, bro. Honestly, bro, I'm helping a lot of people with FTMO already. So, I mean, there's a long wait list. So I'd love to help you, bro, but I really can't. There's probably like 30 people that are asking me to help them pass FTMO. So you're going to be on that list if you're still waiting for some help. And I'm still trading my own FTMO accounts too. I'm still working towards that 300K account. So until I'm at that point, I can only help you guys so much until I get to there, because obviously my account's going to come first. But I do share my trades with you guys. So literally all you guys got to do is just copy my daily US 30 entries if you want to trade exactly how I'm trading. Somebody said, I love scalping. Yeah, no, I love scalping too, bro. But the problem with scalping is you got to be on the chart like literally all day. So if you look at like all of these trades here, I literally didn't sleep for like 24 hours. So you could see that this trade right here. So the first trade I sent out, or that I showed you guys, was at 12 p.m. right on the 19th, 12 p.m. I literally was trading all day. This is the oh no, actually that's not the same day. So the 24th. On the 24th, I started trading right here. 24th at 4:49 p.m. And all of these trades are literally happening like an hour later. This is at 5 p.m. This was at nearly 6 p.m. 6 p.m. right there. 11 p.m. I was literally up for 24 hours just trying to pass this FTMO. And then again right there at so I started on the 24th at 4 p.m. right with 5,000 profit. I ended my trading day the next day at 7 a.m. and at 12,000 profit, and I passed FTMO within that 24-hour period. So, I mean, this just goes to show that it's possible. A lot of people don't think they can pass FTMO like that, but if you have trade properly, you can easily do it, especially using the K2 strategies, because they're pretty straightforward. But all right, guys. So sorry for going off track. Let me just okay, we have a couple more questions here. Just one more question for Velocity. Gotcha. So theoretically, I can trade US 30 and WS 3 looking at the Dow Jones, then instead of looking at the US 30 index. Now that'd be totally different, Velocity, because if you're, so here, check this out. US 30 is an indice. So you can see right here that, so depending on what you're looking at, US 30 is going to be an index, right? Or a CFD. If you're looking at Dow Jones, it's going to be different. It's going to be either a different CFD, like the DJI, that's going to be totally different because this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's not US 30 anymore. There's a Dow Jones 30, there's a Dow Jones Industrial Average. They're totally different. So you have to make sure that you're looking at the right one. So there's a Dow Jones ETF, there's a Dow Jones, there's a Dow stock. They're totally different. If you're looking at US 30, these come up right here. There's a Dow Jones 30, there's US 30, US 30 USD, the yield right here. But if you look up Dow Jones, they're totally different. So I wouldn't mix those two up. Yeah, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is totally different. So you can see right here, let me just look it up. Sorry, let me pull it up on a different chart so I can show you guys. Because pricing is like way different on those two. The future and the index is way different, so I wouldn't recommend mixing those two up. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for you to mix those up because they're totally different assets. Like the DJ30 and the DJI are totally different. Let me see. So US 30 right here, I'm just going to show you guys the current price for this. I trade on currency.com. It's going to be 28210. And then if you look at the Dow Jones, the pricing is way off. It's 28335. See the difference? So I wouldn't mix those two up because they're totally different. The DJI and the DJ30 is totally different. This is just 30-minute time frame. That's why it says 30 there. So if I go on the 4-hour, you can see that it's not US 30 anymore. This is going to be the actual index for that specific feature. So I wouldn't mix those two up. If you want to trade US 30, then just stick to Dow Jones 30. Because this is 2820. So right here, it's 28,206. And then if we go back to the last asset that we're just looking at, it's 28,335. So these are going to be a little different. So, I mean, there's confusion here because I don't know what you're trading on Velocity. Like if your broker uses DJI, then yeah, use DJI. But if your broker uses US 30, then use US 30. So that's the main difference. Because the thing is, you don't want to trade at this specific price point if your price is way different. So you'd have to just stick with your broker. Like if your broker has it at this price, then use US 30. If your broker has it at this price, then use this asset. But I wouldn't go between the two, because those 130 pips could make the difference between hitting your stop loss and not hitting your stop loss. So I would just stick, to the specific asset that you're using for your specific broker. All right, I'm gonna leave this. Mercibah said, why don't you guys do a channel specifically for FTMO? Mostly because I'm like one person. I do like 4 webinars a week, bro. So like I'm pretty busy. I can't, if I start another channel, I'm literally gonna have no time to even trade on my own. So my main thing is trading. I want to trade my own account. I do this to help you guys because like, I send out this webinar and this is completely free. Like I'm not charging any of you guys to get on this webinar. Maybe at some point in the future I can do that, but currently I'm still focusing on my own trades as well. So I take my own trades, I share my trades with you guys, and then I do these webinars just for, educational purposes for you guys as well. But yeah, maybe in the future I'll start an FTMO channel, but currently, I'm tied up with my own trades right now. So maybe like later on. Yeah, John said we have way too many channels. So if you're Merciful, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the with our Telegram channels, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have like 9 channels here. So we got our hands tied over here. Maybe eventually I'll start an FTMO channel, but currently I'm gonna just focus on what I'm doing right now. Let's see. Merciful said, also, how long did it take you to learn how to trade like this? So I've been trading for 10 years now. But I developed a specific, so basically before I created it, I developed these indicators. I was trading just naked, because all these indicators are created by me. So they're all from my own logic, like from what I see on the chart. I've been trading this way for like this specific way, probably for like 4 years now, but I've been trading overall for 10 years. I wasn't taught by anyone. I had no mentor, no courses, nothing. So I literally learned everything from scratch. I probably could have learned faster if I had someone teaching me, but yeah, I've been trading for 10 years. I can't say how long it took me to learn everything because I learned it at a slow pace, but I started to really put things in high gear and create these indicators so you guys can trade like me within the past 2 to 4 years, probably. Let's see, how many said understand, but I just scalp for 2 to 4 hours, have target so it's near. Yeah, Hamdi. I mean, you could trade that way too for like 2 to 4 hours, but being realistic, how much profit do you make within those 2 to 4 hours? That's like a question you have to ask yourself. Because the thing is, a lot of people think you could trade for just 2 to 4 hours, but how much profit do you really make within that time? If you want to scalp for real, you got to trade for a long time. You can't just be on the chart for 2 hours. You're not going to find that many movements within that time period. So it sounds like a good idea to trade for 2 to 4 hours, but in reality, if you're a real scalper, you know that you don't see on the chart for 2 to 4 hours. You're on the chart for 24 hours. And I only know that because I've been trading. I used to scalp all day, literally for like a whole week. I wouldn't sleep. I would just scalp. I made a ton of money, but it wasn't good for my health. And that's why I had to stop scalping. But okay, I'm done with my tangent. Let's go back to the charts. So I can't remember if I went over CAD-CHF, so let's go over it again. Let me see if the zones are the same from last week. Just want to make sure so I don't have to go and redraw everything, because if I do that, it's just gonna take a ton of time. All right, so I'm gonna go and just redraw everything because it doesn't look like they match up. It doesn't take too long anyways. So we got that right there. Got that right there. I'm probably gonna extend this zone over here because these zones kind of link up. So we don't have a lower zone right here. I'm gonna pull up the 8-hour. All right, cool. So we got everything lined up right there. Hide the indicator. All right, the lower zone right here is going to be 0.68732, and this upper zone right here is going to be 0.68732. 798. So that's for CAD CHF. All done with this. I'm going to move on to the next one. CAD JPY. Merciful said, yeah, on Telegraph to show. Thanks for this. Yeah, Merciful, no problem. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask and I can answer them for you. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff we can cover, literally, if you guys just ask some questions. Yeah, no problem, guys. Yeah, I'm here to help you guys. If you guys have any, I know everyone has problems with their trading, so if you guys have anything specific that you guys want me to cover, just let me know. If it's psychology, because trade psychology is probably the biggest thing for most people, especially for even with scalping. I'm sure you've scalped how many where you like second guess your trade all the time. And I had that issue for like the longest time. It came to a point where I was like, if all the requirements meet using the K2 strategies, just let it play out. And that's changed my trading game like tremendously. Like once I started letting my trades play out, that's when I started making the big profits. Because I know when you scalp, you try to take like 3 to 5 pips a time. But if you just let that run to like maybe 10 pips, you can make way more. You just basically doubled up your profit from that point. But all right, so let's look at CAD JPY right here. Let's run the K2sr indicator. It looks like everything pretty much lines up. So if you guys don't understand what I'm saying by that, so like check out the zones right here. We have an upper zone, this zone right here, this zone right here, this middle zone, and then these lower zones down here. So if I turn on the zones right here, you can see that they line up perfectly, right? So all the zones are pretty much the same as they were last week. I'm just going to turn this off and then give you guys the parameters. So this upper zone right here is going to be 79.812, and this lower zone down here is going to be 79.587. So those are 2 zones for CAD JPY. Move on to the next one. CHF JPY. Yeah, Velocity said he recommends everyone here to watch Mark Douglas, all 4 parts of trade. Yeah, that's a really good book. I think it's like Trading in the Zone, right? So if you go on YouTube, you can actually search that up. They have an audio book there. That's where I listen to it. And if you guys want the actual ebook, just let me know because I have the ebook as well and I can share it with you guys. I've shared it in the groups before. I'm not sure if you guys got it, but if not, just send me a DM. I'll send you the book. All right, so let me check out CHF JPY right here. It looks like we have some new zones. So I'm just going to delete these and then redraw the zones over here. So we got this zone up here. We got this zone right here. We got these lower zones over here. This one looks kind of messy. They're kind of overlapping a lot. All right. Yeah, so if they overlap like that, guys, it's subjective. Like you guys can draw your zones however you like. I usually like to just keep the zones pretty much covered so that I don't enter any trades where it's likely to reject from, because if that happens, then you're kind of screwed because you don't want to enter a trade and then end up on the opposite side a few minutes later. All right, so here are the zones for CHF JPY. This pair normally has some messy zones anyways, because they're both, if you guys are familiar with, the specific currencies, the Swiss franc and the Japanese yen are both safe haven currencies. So they kind of both clash, like they both kind of move in the same direction. That's why you see a lot of wicks here for this specific asset. And it kind of moves kind of weird compared to other JPY pairs. Since they both generally move in the same direction more times than not. Like you can see there's a lot of consolidation that happens for this specific pair, and that's completely normal. But this upper zone right here is going to be 116.002, and this lower zone down here is going to be 115.594. Nice. Yeah, Harry said it's on Audible as well. That's actually why I also listen to it. Literally, there was a point in time where I was listening to all of the trading books. So Trading the Zone is definitely one of my top books that I've listened to and read. Another one is probably, I'm trying to think, Trading Wizards. Trading Wizards is good too because they have interviews with some of the world's best traders, and then you can kind of get a glimpse into their mind to see how they trade and basically train your mind to think the way that they do. And that's basically how I got so good at trading. All right, so Euro odd right here. zoom out from here. Let me turn on the K2sr indicator. It looks like there's some new zones right there, so I'm just going to delete and start fresh. Perfect. So we got this upper zone right here. I'm going to delete this alert because we already hit full TP on that specific trade last week. All right, so we have a bunch of zones down here, but they're not really important because price is way up here. So if you do the math, I mean, like, this is like 400 pips, you know, it's not going to move that much within a week. So I'm just going to draw these zones down here as a big zone because odds are it's probably not going to drop this far down unless something crazy happens. We don't have an upper zone right here, so I'm going to go on the higher time frame. Nothing on the 8-hour. I'm going the daily. Damn, this zone's super far, guys. So Euro odds is probably going to be a messy trade a messy pair to trade this week until we get an upper zone right here. Because the thing is, this next zone is way high from where price currently is. So price is probably going to, let me see. So from where price currently is, it's like 2,000 pips. That's a long way to go. So what I think is going to happen here is price is probably going to either come down really heavy because it came from up here, or it's probably going to come to this point and reject off the same exact price point right here, or come up here, reject off here, or even come all the way up here and reject off this point to create a new zone, either there, either down here, or even down here. And like I mentioned, these zones don't get created unless price reaches a specific price point. So say right here, this high right here is 1.68277. In order for a new zone to get created in this area, price has to reach that specific price point. It has to go to 1.68227, and then it has to reject right off it. It can't be off by like 1 or 2 pips. It has to be the same exact price in order for there to be a new zone there. So that's why no new zones have been created right here, because you can see that price actually came really close to this area right here, right? So price came up to this area, but it didn't come up to that exact price point. So there's no new zone right here. Same with right here. Price came up right here, but it didn't stop at this same exact price point. So that's why no new zone has been created in this area. So price is going to keep trying to test these areas. And then once it reaches the same exact price point and rejects, it's going to create a zone in that area. So until then, we're probably not going to have a closer zone. Probably not until, one of those price points have been tested again. Let's see. Velocity said that would be a nice buy though if it moved up that much. I know, right? So this would actually be, check out what happened here. So I know it's kind of hard to see because I'm zoomed out so much, but if you look here, so let me just turn this off. There we go. So I turned off the K2srs, and then I can zoom out from here. You can see that the last time this happened, like way over here, price actually shot up that crazy. And that was in March. So this is when COVID first hit, and COVID was just like horrible, like around here, February, March, this is where it started to shoot up. And then price just spiked up. Let's see, from this point down here to way up here, that's a 3,000 pip move. So it could happen again, velocity. I don't know. And this happened in 15 days. That's not a long time for it to shoot up 3,000 pips. This could play out again where price currently is now, but who knows? What if there's a COVID vaccine that comes out and is released to the public? Then that might happen again. But the Aussie is in recession right now. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Australian dollar. It went into recession in September. It officially went into recession. So this could actually keep pressing up. So I'll keep an eye on it. It might shoot up, but I wouldn't take that trade until we get some sort of confirmation. So right here, we do have a buy signal, but price would have to come below here, break within the zone, and then break right above it. And then once we get that, then I would take that buy signal and pretty much just ride that thing all the way up. but we'll just have to be patient and then wait for that to happen. Brian said, what do the vertical lines within the zones mean? What do you mean, Brian? So you're talking about the momentum indicator? Trying to figure out what you're talking about, because the momentum indicator just indicates the direction of momentum. I'm not sure which vertical lines you're talking about, because I'm sure you're familiar with the momentum indicator, right? I'll wait and see if Brian has a response to that. But so if you guys are looking at Euro odd, the lower zone right here is going to be 1.65942, and there's technically no upper zone right now for Euro odd. The next zone is going to be at 1.89079. I'm trying to figure out what you're looking at, Brian. I don't see any black lines here on the chart. These right here, this is just where the rectangle was drawn. So if I open up a rectangle, see how I drew that? That's just where it started from. It's just from the rectangle tool. It doesn't mean anything, because if I adjust this, see how the lines move? It doesn't make a difference. It's just how you draw the rectangles on the chart. You could literally, if you just move it around, it does it automatically. It just adjusts. It doesn't really do anything. So it's just that if you draw rectangles on the chart, you'll see the lines there, but they don't mean anything. It's just where I drew the zones for my own chart. Yeah, it's nothing special, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. But okay, so let me keep going down. We're getting close to your question earlier, Brian. So I think the first one you wanted was Euro NZD, right? So we're going down to Euro CAD. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 pairs left until we get to Euro NZD. So here's Euro CAD right here. Let me see if the zones line up, because if they do, then there's no point in us redrawing the zone. So there's new zones. I'm just gonna delete everything, start fresh. There we go. We'll draw this right here. Draw this lower zone right here. Actually, sorry, I didn't notice that there was a extra zone right here. All right, so we got that right there. We got that one right there. We got this one over here. All right, perfect. So we got all the zones here lined up for Euro CAD. I'm gonna turn off the indicator. The price is within this zone right here, so I'm just gonna give you guys this upper zone, which is 1.55973, and this lower zone right here is gonna be 1.55590. So that's it for Euro CAD, Euro CHF right here. Let me make sure that they line up. So the zones here look new as well. So we're just going to draw brand new zones. Zoom out of here. Draw that. All right. Euro CHF right here. Let's move this up a little bit. And then this last zone down here. So we got all these zones lined up. Turn off the indicator. And then zoom out from here. All right, cool. So Euro CHF, it looks like it's consolidating right now within these two zones. This upper zone right here is going to be 1.07352. And this lower zone down here is going to be 1.07035. So those are the two zones right there. If price breaks below this point, it might provide for a nice sell signal or a sell entry if we have a sell signal already fired, which we do. So this is a sell signal right here. If price breaks below it, then it could provide for a nice sell entry. All right, on to the next one, EG. Looks like there's new zones. So I'm going to delete everything. Zoom out of here real quick. And then draw these zones. So there goes that zone. When you get to these pairs that move very similarly, like EG, EC, EC as in Euro CHF, you'll see a lot of overlap because a lot of the European pairs kind of move similar to each other. So don't be freaked out when the zones kind of overlap a lot, because that's normal for certain pairs. All right, this last zone down here. All right, cool. So it looks good. Let me hide the indicator. All right, for EG right here, you can see that the price is really close to the zone. So I'm going to give you guys this upper zone, which is 0.90888. And this lower zone down here is going to be 0.90632. So that's for EG right there. Go back to Nancy. So good thing we didn't take this EJ trade, because this is what I just talked about earlier. So price, since the market just reopened for the Asia market, JPY is probably going to swing up a little bit, hit this, and then come back down. So I'm going to let it like push up a little bit. Maybe by 10, I'm going to call for a late entry. And for a late entry, I mean that I'm going to call like a sell stop at this point. So that price is above here, but once it comes back down, we can catch that swing back downwards and then enter the trade. And this is why I always recommend that you guys give the market some time for it to stabilize before you enter any trades, because there's going to be a lot of irregular movements like this right here. Like price was coming down and then shoots right back up, and it's probably going to come back down and just bounce around until the market is fully open, which is not going to happen until New York session tomorrow morning. But yeah, while we're looking at EJ right here, I'm going to make sure the zones are proper. I think they are, because I analyzed this earlier. So if I hide everything off here, yeah, I already marked up these zones when I looked at this about an hour ago. So I'm going to hide the indicator. And this upper zone right here is going to be 124.186. The lower zone down here is going to be 123.558. So that's it for EJ right there. Here we are at Euro NZD. So here's Brian's first request. So I'm going to take my time on this one right here. Let me see. I have one more question from Brian. Brian said, let's say it does. How do you gauge how far it goes, how far down it goes? Sorry, Brian. I think I lost track of which pair you were talking about. Okay, I think you're talking about Euro CHF, right? Because I think this is the one that I was talking about with the sell signal. Yeah, so price breaks below this zone right here. So we do have a sell signal. Price breaks below the zone. So it breaks below here. The next area where it's going to test is going to be the lower zone. So in order to do that, we're going to have to draw the lower zone from that point. So there's no lower zone yet. Here is the lower zone on the 8-hour. So if price was to break that zone right there. So if price breaks the zone, the next zone is right here. It's super close. So it's probably not going to push down that far. The gap between this zone and this zone is only 8 pips. So it's not even going to be a good trade to take, even if it breaks below here. Because you can see that it already tested this point way over here. So when it reaches this point, it's probably going to reject right off it. It's going to retest it for a second test like it did right here. So price tested right here, tested it second time for a double bottom, and it shot right back up. So I wouldn't take this trade until it breaks farther down below this zone right here, because it's just way too close. The spread for this is about 2 pips. For most other brokers, it's probably going to be 3 to 5 pips. So it's not really going to give enough cushion for you to get in and out of the trade. And that's why you kind of have to go on the higher time frame to identify the zones if there's no zones on the 4-hour. Because if there's not one on the 4-hour, you're probably going to find one on the 8-hour. If not, you'll find one on the daily. And if not, you can go on the weekly as well. But it just doesn't look like a safe trade, and I wouldn't take it personally. All right, so we're going to go back to Euro NZD. No. So for USCHF, the way I found that was I went on the higher time frame. So you can see right here that there was no zone on the 4-hour, right? Well, this is where the current zone was, but there was no lower zone. If you go on the 8-hour, it showed the lower zone right here. And then if that wasn't down there, if you wanted something lower, you can go on the daily. And you can see that there's another zone way down here for the daily. So this would be the next level. Brian said, let's say it does go below that though. So you keep zooming out, right? I don't zoom out. I go on the higher time frame because if you zoom out on the 4-hour, it's not going to make a difference. So we have this zone right here, but even if you zoom out as far as you want, it's not going to create new zones. You would have to go on the higher time frame. Yeah, exactly. So you just shift to the higher time frame. So say right here we have this zone. We want the lower zone, right? So if we don't have a lower zone, we just pull up the 8-hour, and there goes that lower zone. If we want a zone that's lower than that, we go on the daily. And then there goes that next zone right there. If we want a zone, say if we wanted a higher zone, a lower zone, and there's no zone down here, we just go on the weekly. And it creates more zones right here because each time frame has their own zones. But yeah, that's Euro CHF right there. Me personally, I wouldn't take it because the next zone is just way too close. So let's go over to Euro NZD. So this was Brian's request. We're going to take some time on this to make sure that we analyze this properly. And I'll give you guys my analysis on, how I think this is going to move. So let's draw these zones on the chart real quick. All right, so I got all the zones right here lined up for Euro NZD. I'm just gonna give you guys the parameters before I analyze it. So I'm gonna hide the indicator. Price is currently within this zone right here. So I'm gonna give you guys this upper zone over here. The upper zone is gonna be 1.77692. And I'm gonna skip this zone right here. And this lower zone down here is gonna be 1.76708. So right here, we've identified the zones, right? So we know exactly where price is going to be rejected from. So it looks like price is currently in a downtrend right here. And then it rejected off this zone, came up here, tested this zone, came right back down. And then it tested this zone again right here. So it's already tested this zone. What could happen here is price can either break below it or it can continue its rejection because we have a bullish candle right here and shoot right back up to retest this zone over here for like a double top or something like that. But once we have that lined up, we're just going to turn on the K2 momentum indicator. So we have a sell bias right now because the most recent momentum signal was a sell signal right here. So if we took this trade, which I think we did, probably wrote it down for like about 100 pips. And then price broke the zone right here again. It kept pushing down. So we have a sell bias right here, right? Price came down from here, rejected off this point, came back up, rejected off here, came right back down, rejected off this zone, came right back up, rejected off here. So I anticipate this to keep dropping down further. Probably down to here. And then once it comes down to here, you can probably enter another short position right over here and then ride this thing down further. And then once it breaks this zone again right here, it could probably just keep dropping further and further down. That's how I see Euro NZD right now. On top of that, we already have a bunch of confirmations. We have the rejection right here off the K2sr. That's like one confirmation. We have a sell signal up here indicating that momentum is going to continue downwards. So we have two confirmations there indicating a drop, right? On top of that, we can confirm the trend because right here, clearly it's in a downtrend if you just look at it from a bird's eye view. So if I hide this right here, price is clearly in a downtrend if you just look at it from this perspective, right? But to be sure, we'll turn on the K2 pivots indicator, and you can see that price is below the pivots. the pivots are all angling downwards and they're spread out. So that's indicating a strong trend downwards. So right here, you can see the nice rejections off the K2 pivots. Price came up, rejected right off it, and came right back down. So there's 3 confirmations right there indicating a bearish move. We have the rejection off the K2sr zone. We have the K2 momentum signal indicating a momentum swing downwards, which did happen. So that's 2 confirmations. Third confirmation, it's in an overall downtrend right here. So that gives a ton of confirmations right there that price is going to continue downwards. If you guys want to go more in detail, what you can also do is like what I indicated earlier, you could find correlating pairs. So just look at all of the euro pairs. And that's why I have this watch list here set up in order. So all of the euro pairs that are paired with other currencies, they're all going to be lined up together. So if you were to enter a sell position here, you want to make sure that all the euro pairs are going down. So if they're all going down, that's going to indicate that the euro is weak, right? And all of the other pairs are stronger than the euro. So if that's happening, that's going to give you confirmation on top of the confirmations we already have that odds are it's probably going to keep coming down further. So to do that, you're just going to look at the other euro pairs right here and then confirm that they're all coming down. For euro odd right here, it's not coming down. So that confirmation hasn't been filled. Same with euro CAD, it's going upwards. Euro CHF, it's coming down. EG, it looks like it's coming down and just retraced a little bit. EJ, it's doing the same thing as EG. So you can see here that there's no like clear correlation. You can see that the euro pairs are kind of going in both directions. EU is going down, Euro NZD is going down, Euro JPY is going up, EG is going up. So this, I wouldn't consider this a safe trade. If they were all coming down, then that would give me full confirmation that okay, I could enter a sell position here. However, at this time, it doesn't look like it's coming down for sure. And if you guys are familiar with how I trade, I like to trade like entries that are for sure. Like I don't like to take any maybe entries or maybe so-so entries. I want to take a trade that like I'm almost like 90% sure that it's going to keep coming down. So if the euros don't align like that, you can go and check the NZD pairs. So right here, if price is coming down, we want the NZD to be strong, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to go to these NZD pairs and make sure that the rest of the NZD pairs are also coming down. So if it's odd NZD with the NZD as a second currency, pull that up, it's coming down. So the NZD is strong against the Australian dollar. On top of that, we can look at the other NZD pairs like this right here, GN. It's also coming down, right? So this is indicating that the NZD is strong right now. Next, we can look at the rest of the NZD pairs right here. So NZD CAD, we want this to go up because if it's going up, it's going to indicate that the NZD is stronger than the Canadian dollar. So it's going up right here. It's strong. It's showing a strong NZD. Right here for NZD CHF, it's coming down. So it's kind of conflicting. NZD JPY, it's going up. That's indicating a strong NZD, like I mentioned earlier. And again, right here for NZD USD, it looks like it's going up overall because if you just draw, basic trend lines, it's clearly in an uptrend. So it's just going through some retracement, but it's still going up. However, overall, most of the NZD pairs look strong. So that would give you your confirmation that this is probably going to continue down. So you can see right there, it's pushing down as we speak. So Brian, if you're looking at taking this trade, if you want to take it, you can take it. Or if you're already in a sell, then you're perfectly fine. But if you're looking for a new entry, I would wait for it to close below this zone right here, and then you can write it down further. And that's only because, I know you're familiar with how I trade. Like I'm extra cautious. Like I don't like taking risky trades because, it's the worst feeling if you enter a sell right here and then rejects off this point and it shoots way up and stops you out. And you're like, damn, I should have just been patient and waited for that entry. But, it's really up to you. If you want to take this trade, I have a sell bias for this. And you can go back and rewind the live to see, how I explained it. But there's a ton of confirmations indicating a move downwards. So if this drops below, then I'll call an entry. However, it hasn't dropped below yet. So until then, I'd probably just sit tight and wait for it to give some more confirmations that it's going to keep dropping down further. So there's Euro NZD. Go on to the next one. your USD. This is another one that Brian wants us to look at. So I'm going to go and analyze this from scratch, delete that, turn the K2sr indicator. And then I'm going to draw these zones right here. Oh, whoops, wrong tool. All right, cool. So we got these zones lined up right here. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with EN. After we got the zones, well, first I'm gonna give you guys a parameter. So prices in between these two zones right here. This upper zone is gonna be 1.18668, and this lower zone down here is gonna be 1.18316. So those are the two zones right there. It looks like price is consolidating within these two zones over here. Let's turn on the momentum indicator to see where our bias is gonna be. We had a buy signal from way down here and it pushed way up here. So I still have a buy bias for Euro USD. It looks like price came up, rejected off this point, came down, rejected off this point, came up, almost reached this point, but then it came right back down. But I do still have a buy bias for this. However, I wouldn't enter this trade until price breaks above this area right here so that I can take a long position and ride that thing up. But there's no upper zone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for that upper zone first. Turn the K2sr indicator back on, go on the 8 hour. There goes our zone. It's super close. So it looks a bit risky. Like me personally, I think it just looks too risky. I wouldn't even take this trade if it broke above it. So you can see right there that that zone is super close. The next zone is going to be up here. Yeah, guys, this is it's just way too close. So like, even if price was to break this zone right here, it's tested these other zones up here like a bunch of times. So I wouldn't even take this trade because, you don't want to enter a buy and then it rejects right off it, or you enter a buy right here and then it rejects off that point. It's just not going to be a safe trade to take. But same thing that I mentioned earlier, we do have a buy bias here. However, I probably wouldn't take it until it shoots like way up there. There's just some pairs that you just shouldn't trade on a specific week, because the thing with your USD right here is that there's so many zones. Like even once price breaks this zone, there's another zone up here. So there's so many opportunities for price to reverse on you, and it's just not a risk that I'm willing to take. Because why would you focus on just Euro USD when there's a ton of other pairs to trade? But just looking at this here, even if price was to break this point, I still wouldn't take it because it could reject off here. Same with here, it could reject off here. And you won't really know when it's going to reject, unless there's something crazy that happens. Like say if there's another COVID outbreak in the US and the US dollar just gets super weak and the euro just shoots right up, then okay, you would take the buy position. But I would just skip Euro USD maybe for this whole week and then just look for something else and then see how it plays out, the following week. Also to keep in mind, the elections are coming up, guys. I don't know if you guys are following the elections, but the elections are coming up within 2 weeks. So the market might get a little crazy from now until then. So I'd be careful with the USD pairs because a lot can happen from now until then. And the last thing I want to do is end up on the wrong side of a trade. But yeah, Brian, so that's your USD. I would just stay away from it for now until you have some extra confirmation. Just trade something else. Probably trade like the AU. Maybe the GU is like messed up too. I'll have to take a look at that. But let me see if there's news this week. So there's actually a lot of news. So there's no news tomorrow. It looks like we might be good until Tuesday, it looks like. Tuesday, there's a lot of USD news, AUD news. These are all going to affect the market pretty heavy. Wednesday, we have Canadian news in the morning. And then some JPY news tentatively throughout the day on Wednesday as well. So we do have a heavy news week. That doesn't mean that's going to be a bad week because we've had heavy news weeks where we've made a ton of profit. But but it's definitely going to be a time where we should probably be careful. But yeah, Brian, your USD just doesn't look like a great trade to take right now. I gave you guys parameters, so if you guys want to take a look at that, feel free. We're going to move down to the next one, GA right here. I'm going to see if the zones match up with the ones from last week. Let's see. So they're pretty much the same exact zones from last week. So I'm just going to leave them up right there. I'm going to give you guys the parameters again. All right, the zones for GA. This upper zone right here is going to be 1.83314, and this lower zone down here is going to be 1.82265. So those are the two zones right there. It's stuck within the zone, so I probably wouldn't take a trade until it breaks above or below it. We do have a sell momentum right here, so the bias is a sell. I would wait for price to reject off this point, come down here, and then you could probably take a sell position right off there. However, it's going to be close to this zone right here, so it's going to be a risky trade regardless. All right, on to the next one. All right, GCAD right here. Let me see if the zones still match up with last week's zone. So they kind of changed up a bit. I'm just going to delete it and then draw some new zones right here. So we got this upper zone right here. We got this lower zone right here. And then we got this middle zone right here, where price currently is. This lower zones right here. All right, looks like we're good for the most part. So nobody asked for GCAD's analysis, so I'm just going to give you guys the parameters. I'm going to hide this right here. Price is stuck within the zone right here, so I'm going to skip this upper zone. I'm going to give you this one right here. This upper zone is going to be 1.71921, and this lower zone down here is going to be 1.71074. So those are the two zones for GCAD. Move on to the next one, GBP CHF. Zoom out of this, see if the zones line up from last week's. Let's see. So these zones aren't there anymore. It's like price moved down a lot since then. This one might have moved down a little further right there. Actually, there's a couple new zones, so I'm just going to redraw the whole thing. So we have these zones lined up right there. It's going to draw my zones over them. So draw that one right there. That one. That one. That one. What happened there? Looked like the zones like disappeared for a second. How did that happen? I don't know if the zones just adjusted right now. It looks like the zones kind of moved a little bit, but I didn't really. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to redraw these. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to move this farther down. And then we got this huge zone down here. All right, cool. So they're all lined up. I'm going to hide this. All right, guys. So price looks like it's just consolidating. You can see it's been consolidating from this point and this point down here. It's literally just going sideways. But that doesn't matter. So this upper zone right here is going to be 1.18174. And this lower zone right here is going to be 1.17729. So basically price breaks this zone right here. Then we can probably anticipate this to continue down further and retest this zone before either, breaking below further or rejecting back upwards. Odds are it's probably going to reject back upwards because it's been in this zone for some time right now. It's been in the zone since September 25th. So it's been in this zone for nearly a month now. I'd be careful you're trading this because, ranging markets are probably the worst markets to trade. if you're trading intraday. Unless you're scalping, then it's perfectly fine, but you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of the trade. So that's GC right there. I'm going to move on to the next one, GJ. Draw an indicator, hide this. Looks like there's new zones. So I'm just going to delete everything, start from scratch. Zoom out from here. All right, we got those lined up. These down here, and then we got these lower ones over here as well. Small zone, this big zone down here. All right, cool. So we got those lined up. I'm gonna hide this, zoom out from here so you guys can see better. All right, so prices between these two zones over here. This upper zone is going to be, actually it's already tested the zone. So I'm gonna give you the zone way up here. So this is gonna be 137.012. And this lower zone down here is gonna be 135.900. And that's it for GJ. Nobody asked for a deeper analysis on this, and it's fine if I'm not going to deep analysis on this, guys, because the market just opened, so there's not much volatility. You can see it's barely even moving. I'm gonna have another webinar on Tuesday anyways, so once we recap into the week and the market's back in full swing, we can go into a deeper analysis to catch some more moves, because right now it's kind of pointless with like literally no volatility. Because the thing is, price can go from here to way up here by the end of the week, or it can go from here to way down here. So it kind of makes no point to really analyze it that in detail until there's some actual movement in the market, because a lot of things can happen from now until tomorrow. So that's GJ. Here's GN right here. You go and delete all these right here because they look kind of messy. I'm going to turn on the K2srs. There we go. So I'm going to start off fresh, draw these zones right here. And I hate when the pairs have like these messy zones because they're kind of hard to see. I mean, it's easy for me because I do this whole, like literally every day, I just redraw zones. But if this is new to you, it's kind of hard when the zones are so close to each other. Okay, so we'll mark these together. Like I prefer when they're big and wide because they're easier for you to just draw big zones versus drawing these like super small zones in between. I could have just overlapped them, but it's fine. I've already made those small zones. So it's fine that we have a more precise view of how the rejections have been playing out for the past couple of weeks. So you can see right here, even though these zones are super small, you can see that they're very important zones. Like this zone has been tested back in July. So July into August, and then again back in September. And then here we are again at the same exact price point in October. So looking at GN right here, price is currently within these two zones. So I'm gonna give you this upper zone, which is 1.95340. And this lower zone down here is gonna be 1.94747. So that's it for GN right there. Move on to the next one, GU. Let's make sure that the zones aren't the same from last week. Let's see. So the zones look pretty much the same. The only difference is that we have a new upper zone over here, which makes sense because price tested that area last week. So I'm just going to draw this zone up here, and it looks like we're good. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out of here. And then, so prices between these two zones right here, this upper zone is going to be 1.30627, and this lower zone down here is going to be 1.30072. We have a question from Mercy Bai. He's asking, can you explain the zones on GN? So let me go back to GN real quick. All right, Mercy Bai. So these are the zones right here. It's the same ones I just drew from the K2sr. So let me just show you real quick. You can see that the zones are right there. And there's the zones that we drew. So they're exactly the same. And these zones were created because the same exact price point was tested in the past. So like I was mentioning earlier, these zones are more precise, but they're very strong zones. So you can see that the same exact price point was probably tested right here. So you can see it was tested right here at 1.97289. And then it tested again right here on the 21st. So it tested over here on the 7th, and it tested again here on the 21st. And then it probably tested again at some point over here at that same exact price point. But you can see here that it's tested that same area a ton of times. But in order for these zones to get created, that same exact price point, this one right here, 1.97289, had to be tested at some point in the past. And the thing is, if you're familiar with like how bank algorithms trade, they have specific price points where their computers will just reject price. So right here, price came up to here and it rejected off it. Again, right here, it came up to the same exact price point and rejected right off it too. So this is probably a zone that was created by a bank algorithm, which, it's pretty normal. You can see right here that there's specific prices that get tested all the time. And these are usually going to be zones that have been created by bank algorithms because, there's some price points where banks don't want price to pass. So if price comes, like if you go over here and you see this same exact zone right here, you can see that the same price point was tested years back. So if we go back super far in data, the same price point was tested. So what is it today? October 25th, right? You can see that the last time it was tested at that same price point was right here on September 18, 2019. So this same price point has been tested years back. Here's May 2019. If you go back even further, it was tested in October 2018. So for the past 2 years, the same exact price point has been tested. And the thing is, a lot of people think they can create these zones just by looking at the chart, which technically you can, but let's be real here. Are you able to identify that going back in data this far back 2 years? Probably not. So that's why I use the indicators, because I have my algorithm, programmed to identify where these price points are, years back. Like you can literally go back years. And this has been tested since, so like November 2017. It was tested again back in July or June 2016. Again, right here. So you can see that this area is a strong price area. And the way that these zones are created is if they've been tested in the past. So you can trust that the K2sr zones are pretty strong because they go back from today's date, October 25th, 2020, way back to, let's see how far it goes back. It goes back pretty far, way back to December 2013. So this is pretty crazy that price has been testing the same exact area since 2013 up until now. That's 7 years, a long time for price to keep testing a certain area. And you can see that price tests the same exact zone back on December 12, 2013. Again, right here, 2014 in February, again in March, and then, up to today's date right now. It's tested it again most recently on the 20th of October. But yeah, so that's pretty much, how these zones were created, especially with these zones right here. So this current zone right here that's been created right here, it looks like it was established by this price point 1.94745, and it looks like it's tested it a bunch of times within this entire month up until September, up until early September, again in July, and then again in June. And then if you just go back further, you can see that same exact price area was tested again, at some point last year, and then the years prior to that. But yeah, that's pretty much how the zones were created for GN over here. So I'm going to keep moving forward. Looks like we've been on this webinar for 2 hours, but it's fine, guys, because this is what I love to do. So it doesn't really seem like I'm doing work here, because I would have been doing this on my own time anyways. But I might as well share the knowledge with you guys so you guys can see exactly how I analyze the charts and how do I come up with my trades for the week. So I think the last one that I looked over was GU, guys, right? So I gave you guys the parameters for that. I'm going to move on to NC over here. NZD-CAD was asked by someone, I forgot who, but I'm going to take my time on this so I can show you guys exactly what I see happening for this week. So I'm going to delete everything off the chart. I'm going to pull up the K2sr indicator, draw my zones right here. Another one right here. Another one down here. This one right here. A small one right here. And the lower one right here. So we have all those zones lined up. I'm going to hide the K2sr indicator. Price is within this current zone right here. So I'm just going to give you guys, this upper zone, because this is going to give you guys the edge. So if price breaks the zone, you can probably take a buy position and ride that to the next zone up here. So this upper zone right here is going to be 0.87986. It's probably going to break it. It looks like it's pushing up further. And the lower zone down here is going to be 0.87806. Let me turn on the K2 momentum indicator. It's perfect. We got a buy momentum right here. You can see if price broke this, or when price broke this zone right here, it would have provided for a buy entry, which would have hit full TP right there for 43 pips. And then again, right here, price broke this zone right here. You could have taken another buy entry right there, and it technically would have been active for 43 pips as well. So it looks like it's going to push up, complete that trade. And then once it breaks above there, you can enter another long position right there to the next zone. From this point up to here. But I wouldn't enter that position until price breaks and closes above here. Because, oh, cool. Yeah, so Mercy asked about this question right here for NZD-CAD. Right here, it has a bullish bias right here. And like I was talking about earlier this webinar, it looks like all of the NZD pairs are pretty bullish overall. So I think this is going to continue on upward. So once this breaks above this zone, which is this price point that I mentioned earlier, 0.7984, once it breaks above it and closes like it did right here, you can enter a long position right here and then pretty much ride it to the next zone. So I would, just be patient, because this candle is not going to close for another 2 hours. So we have the countdown right here for 2 hours, which closes at 10 p.m. Hopefully volatility picks up by then. And then if it does, and it closes above this zone, then you can pretty much ride that above. So you can see right here, it did the same thing over here. So price, we had this buy signal. It closed above this zone. And then what did it do? It pushed up and tested this zone right here before coming back down. So if price closes above this zone again, like it did previously, you can take a long position up to this point, like for about 40 pips, and then you can exit right there. And then price could either break above it and continue up further, or it can reject off it and come back down and trigger your full TP. So I'll just be patient with NZD-CAD. It's a slow moving pair. And like I said, the market just opened, so volatility is kind of low right now. So I would probably just hold off for a little bit, wait until this candle closes in 2 hours and 30 minutes. And then if it closes above it, take that buy and then secure that W right there. But yeah, so that's NZD-CAD. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is NZD-CHF. Let me see if the zones line up perfectly with last week's. So there's some new zones right there. I'm just going to go and start off fresh. So let's draw this zone up here. We got this zone right here. That one right there. And then we got this middle zone right here. And then we got another lower zone right here. So the zones are perfectly fine because price is right in the middle. Once price gets lower, we can create new zones down here. If price breaks higher, we can create new zones over here as well. It looks like it has a bullish bias, but it's consolidating sideways right now. Let's turn on this K2 momentum indicator. Yeah, it's similar with NZD CAD. It also has a bullish bias right now. But let me give you guys this upper zone. So this upper zone right here is going to be 0.60542, and this lower zone down here is going to be 0.6037. So since we have a bullish bias right here, same thing that I just discussed with, NZD CAD. Once price breaks above here, then you can take a buy. However, I wouldn't take any entries until it closes above it. Velocity said you made 12K scalping US 30 in one day using pivots on 10-minute time frame. Yeah, so I set up the trade on the 10-minute, but I did something a little more advanced. Like what I did was I set up the entry on the 10-minute, but then I went on the lower time frames and I did the same thing. So I applied the same exact pivot strategy that I did on the 10-minute. Here, I'll just show you real quick what I did. So basically, here's NZD CHF. I'm going to go over to US 30 real quick. I'm just going to show velocity real quick what I did because it's a little complicated, but it's also a little easy. So let me just show you an example of what I did. I'm not going to show you these over because this was a crazy week. Like, check out this gap right here, guys. Nuts. Like this gap is this was during the swap. It dropped like 600 pips randomly. Well, let me just show you guys another example over here. So right here would be a pivot entry, right, for a sell position because price is below the pivot, so price is trending down. We had the retracement, rejection right here, sell signal. So what I did was I set up the entry right here for a short position, right? So I had one position running for this full move. And then what I did on top of that is I went down to like the 5-minute or even the 1 minute in some cases, but you could probably go down to the 5-minute. And then what I did was you can see right here, as price continued to move down, it would provide for more entries. So you can see all these entries right here, right? There's a sell entry right here, sell entry right here. This wasn't the exact area where I took the trade, but there's let me just find a better example because I was just trying to find some random one, but there's actually more entries over. Okay, so right here is probably a better example because there was more drops in price over here. So like right here. Okay, so right here we have another sell entry for the pivot strategy, right? So we have price below the pivots are angling down, they're spread out, so that's an overall downtrend. We have the retracement from here, price comes down, retraces upwards, rejection right here, sell signal, all requirements are met, enter short position right there. So we have one full position right here, right? What you could do is you can go on the shorter time frame, like maybe the 1 minute, or the 1 minute's kind of crazy. So depending on how well you are at scalping velocity, I don't know how good you are at scalping. I personally go on the 1 minute because I'm in and out of these trades super quick. But if this moves too fast for you, you can go on the 5-minute. And then so right here I have one entry, like one scalp entry, right? Within this trade, I'm going to take like more entries. So right here we have a buy signal. So the next signal is going to be a sell signal. So right here we had a sell signal. It's not valid, so I wouldn't have taken it. So that first one would have hit full TP, and then price comes back up, and then we get another sell signal right here, right? So the thing is, I'm going in between the 5-minute and the 10-minute. So we have another pivot entry right there. Enter another one. Another full TP right there. And then it just keeps going. Like there's another entry right there. Short position again right there. And then literally I'm just taking all these entries. So you see how easy that is? There's like 1, 2, 3, and then there's like another, like there's more entries on the 10-minute. You could literally go in between all of them. So there's one entry right there for the 10-minute. There's another entry right here. Like you could literally take all of these entries. So there's another 10-minute entry right there that would have hit full TP, obviously. There's an entry right here off the, this was the 5-minute entry. And then there's another 10-minute entry right here. So if you stack all of these together, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries And each win is probably, if you average it out, it's probably like 1,200 pips each, right? So like 1, 2, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 1,200, you would have locked in like 6,000 pips within how much time? Within like 12 hours. So if you do that, and then if you're trading like a lot, like when I scalp, I take really big lot sizes. So like, check this out. If I was taking, I think I was taking like 50 lots, bro. It was a lot. Let's see. Where is my profits at? Okay, so like right here. So I was taking like 50 lot sizes, bro. It's pretty big. So you multiply this times 5, not 50 because they're micro lots. So you multiply that by 5. I was locking in like 30,000 pips. So, there's a lot of ways to do it where you can do it on the 10-minute, but you could also go on the 5-minute and just keep stacking your trades. But you have to actually know what you're doing when you're scalping. Like, it looks easy just by looking at the chart, but you actually have to understand that the market's trending down super heavy when you do it. You can probably ask in the chat like how other people do it, because there's a lot of other people that do it the same way, but they have their own special techniques. But this is basically how I did it. And then that's pretty much, how many pips you could have done if you multiplied it by that specific lot size. So if you were taking just a 1 lot, then you could have or it was like a 1 mini. So if you're taking like a 1 mini, it obviously would have been 6,000 pips profit, but I was taking huge lot sizes. I was taking 50s, which is equivalent to a 5 lot. So if you, instead of taking 1 lot here, you multiply it by 5, and I technically made this much. That's why my profits were so high, because you just have to add the multiplier, because I'm taking a heavier lot size. But yeah, I mean, that's scalping. This is something that it comes with practice. Like literally you have to really know what you're doing. So this is why I don't really teach scalping to people, because the problem is a lot of people think they can scalp exactly how I do, but I've been doing this for years. So this is like second nature to me. Like if I see a sell signal, I'm going to enter a sell. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to take the trade and then I'm going to let it play out. But if you're new to scalping, or if you're not as experienced, you're going to second guess it. Like, even though this looks like a clear sell, like a clear win right here, when this is happening live, you're going to be sweating. You're going to be like, oh crap, should I take this trade or should I not take this trade? And then odds are you're probably going to want to wait for it a little bit. But at that point, it's too late. Price is already down here. And then you're like, crap, I should have just entered it when they got that sell signal. But it's all going to come with practice. It's not something that you just learn in one day. Like, you have to be practicing this like months and months and months and on end until you actually get it 100%. Because the thing is, there's a lot of fake outs here. So you can see like it was clear for here, like clear sells, clear buys, clear sells here, but the market's not always like that. So I'm trying to purposely look for bad trades so that I can show you guys that it doesn't always work. So like right here, price is consolidating, right? Price is consolidating. Some people might try to scalp within this area if you don't have the K2 indicators. But obviously, if you have the K2 indicators, you would have skipped it. You would have taken this buy right here. And you would have been good. But the market isn't always going to be trending like it does here. It's trending super nice down here, trending super nice up here. Consolidation, nice trend up. But like something like this is messy. Some people will try to scalp within here, but there's obviously like no clear trend. But I would just recommend that you keep practicing it. Like, keep practicing it until it becomes second nature to you, where you don't even have to think about it. Like you see the sell right here below the pivot, you're like, all right, cool, it's a sell entry. And then you take your short position. And then you hit full TP and you're like, oh, well, that was easy. But until then, just keep practicing. I don't recommend you do that live until you're 100% confident with your abilities in scalping. But okay, so let me go back to the Forex pairs. So guys, we've been on this webinar for, I think, over 2.5 hours now. So I'm going to try to skip through this real quick because I still need to take a break so I can look for the trades at 10 p.m. And then we can hop back on later if you guys still have questions. But I'm just going to get through this because I know some people have been on this webinar for, this whole time for about 2.5 hours. I just want to make sure you guys get your full value out of this webinar, and you guys are able to get these zones before the next entries appear. So right here for NZD/JPY, I'm going to make sure that the zones don't line up perfectly. So they actually line up pretty nice right here with the zones from last week. So the only difference is this zone got smaller. Put that right there. Looks like this zone got a little smaller too. And this one as well. Other than that, it looks like it's pretty much the same. So for NZD/JPY, the prices within these two zones right here. So this upper zone is going to be 70.318, and this lower zone down here is going to be 70.029. That's it for NJ right there. Business Ping said, can you add alert to the K2 indicator when it turned? Yeah, so you can set your alert for whichever, I mean, you can customize it as much as you want. So if you click alert here, and then you want to set an alert for the K2 indicator, you just go to K2TS, and then you can set it to a buy signal. So your question, Business Ping, is when it turns red, you can set an alert. So if it turns red, you can set it to sell signal. If you want it when it turns green, you can set it to buy signal. If you want it for either or, if it gives a sell or a buy, you can do K2 signal fired, and it'll do both. And then for your options, you can do if you want it just once, if you want it once per bar, if you want it once per bar close, once per bar minute. It's really up to you how you want to set it up. And then right here under actions alert or alert actions, you can have it set to notify on app. If you have the phone app, show the pop-up on the screen. That's what I have set up. Send email, webhook. It's really up to you how you want to do it. And then down here under messages, you can set any message you want. So this is for NZD/JPY. You can do like NZD/JPY, K2 signal on the 4-hour time frame, like however you want to customize it. But that's pretty much how you would set it up. You would set the alert to, for me, I have it set to signal fired because I want to know when I get a signal in either direction. But if you just want to sell, you can do sell. If you just want to buy, you can do buy as well. And it's pretty simple. You can see how I did it right there. Pretty quickly, pretty straightforward. Anyone can do it. But all right, so we're back at NZD/JPY. Next one is NZD/USD. I'm going to see if the zones line up with last week's zones. All right, cool. So this one just extended a little further. Other than that, it looks pretty much the same. Yeah, so everything lines up same as last week's zone. So prices currently within these two zones right here, it looks like it's like pretty much consolidating sideways, but I'm going to give you this upper zone over here. I don't want to give you this lower one because it's kind of pointless. It's already tested it. This upper zone up here is going to be 0.67094. And this zone down here is going to be 0.66674. So those are the two zones right there for NU. Next pair is going to be USD CAD. This isn't currently an active position that we have now. It actually hit TP1 already, so I'm actually out of this trade. When price came down right here, I got stopped out at, I don't know, let's see. USD CAD. Yeah, so it hit TP1 over here for 24 pips, and that's where I got stopped out because once it reached 24 pips right here, I moved my stop loss to TP1. So as it came back up, I got stopped out in profit. Technically, it's still active, so it can still come back down and hit full TP. But, like I mentioned, it's a brand new week, so anything can happen during this week. And that's why I don't like to hold trades that long. But let's go ahead and see if the zones are in the same area as last week. Yeah, they look perfectly the same. So I'm not going to change anything. It's going to give you guys the update. So price is currently within these two zones. This upper zone is going to be 1.31620. And this lower zone down here is going to be a 1.31193. So those are the zones for USD CAD. I'm going to move on to the next one, USD CHF. I'm going to take some time on this and analyze my my analysis on the specific pair. So let's make sure the zones are lined up properly. So yeah, the zones look like they're still lined up in the same areas that they were marked up from last week. Let me turn on the momentum indicator. We do have a sell momentum right here. However, like I just mentioned, it's a brand new week. So with it being a brand new week, this could easily reverse on us and come right back up into profit. However, this trade hit TP2 like way up here, and that's when I got out. So I got out of this trade on the 22nd, which was early last week. Actually only had one TP, yeah. So it hit TP1 for 17 pips right here, and that's where I got stopped out in profit. So once price shot up right here, I moved my stop loss in profit to TP1, or yeah, TP1 right here. And then I got stopped out as it came back down. So if you guys are still in this trade, I mean, there's no indication that it's going to come back up, but who knows, like it could come back up because we're in a brand new week. So it's still active. However, you know, I can't really say what direction it's going to go in until probably New York session tomorrow, because we're probably not going to see much movement until London session. And then we're not going to see like, you know, the full movement until US session, because we do have some news tomorrow, but we'll have to see how this plays out by then. But yeah, currently for USD CHF, you technically should have like exited this trade if you took this trade last week. However, if you're still in it, I mean, there's still chances that it can still shoot back up. So one way I would analyze that is to look at the other USD pairs. So in order for it to go up, the USD has to be strong. So let's look at AUD USD. AUD USD is coming down, right? So if it's coming down, that's indicating that the US dollar is stronger than the Australian dollar. Looking at your USD over here, it's coming down as well. So if it's coming down, that's going to indicate that the US dollar is stronger than the euro. Looking at GBP USD over here, GU is also coming down. So if it's coming down, the US dollar is stronger than the pound. Looking at NU right here, it's going up, but it's also coming down. So this is kind of like a toss up, but it does look like it's heading downwards. So if it's heading downwards, it's going to indicate that the US dollar is stronger than the New Zealand dollar. So going back to UCAD over here, same situation, price is going up, right? So price is going up, the US dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar. And then back to USD CHF, you know, if the correlations add up properly, then, you know, this will probably continue back upwards. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what happens this week. You know, there's no guarantees that it's going to go up or down. So we just have to wait until the US market opens to get that confirmation of the direction of price for this week. Okay, so let me go to the last pair. Last pair right here is USD JPY. Let me make sure that the and this is another confirmation right here too. So USD JPY price just shot up right here. There's a nice you know, momentum swing up right here with this buy signal. So if it's coming up, this is indicating that the US dollar is stronger than the Japanese yen. And the Japanese yen is a safe haven currency, so they usually move opposite of each other. Same with the USD CHF. The Swiss franc is a safe haven currency. So the thing is, if the US dollar is strong against the JPY, it's probably going to be strong against the Swiss franc as well, since they're both safe haven currencies. But who knows? You know, I don't know if Trump's going to send a tweet out or something sometime soon that could affect the market. Who knows? But yeah, I would just be careful. But you can still look at it as a buy currently. So yeah, back to UJ over here. I'm going to go and make sure that the zones are not the same as last week. So the zones do look pretty much the same. The only difference is that we have another zone right here. So what I could do for this is I can just extend this down a little further to cover those zones. And there we go. We're pretty much set. So looking at the zones there, they line up perfectly. I'm going to hide the K2sr indicator. So right now, the upper zone is going to be at 104.947, and this lower zone down here is going to be 104.120. So that's it for UJ. That's it for the FX pairs. We have one question from Business Paying. Can you show us live how to scalp, let's say, AUD USD? I just sell at 0.7102. Okay, so let's take a look. I probably wouldn't have sold there because it's at a zone. So, I mean, it might come down right here, but it might reject right off it. So I don't think that would have been a good, and the momentum is coming up. You know, we have a buy bias right here because we have a buy signal. So until we get a sell signal, we're most likely only going to be looking for buys. So I'm not sure, you know, what indicated you to take that sell, but let me go on the shorter time frame. So you want me to look at scalping. Let me turn on the pivots. So I wouldn't have scalped this right here because there was no entry yet. But if we do get a sell signal, then yeah, I would qualify for a sell entry. However, like I mentioned, the zone is right here. So even if you were to take a sell, if you had a sell entry, once price reaches this point, it's probably going to reject right off it. So I wouldn't have scalped this for a sell, at least not right now. But I can show you an example for, because so like right here, there's no sell here. This wouldn't be a proper sell entry because it doesn't fulfill the requirements for the pivot strategy. So this is the K2 pivots scalping strategy. So first you're going to identify overall trend using the K2 pivots. Two, you're going to identify a retracement pullback. Third, you're going to identify a rejection of K2 its area. And then lastly, you're going to identify a valid K2 signal. So once all those are met, you can enter on the open of the following candle. So right here, I wouldn't have taken this because it wouldn't be a valid signal. There'd have to be an overall trend. So if you rewind to that specific price point, you can see that the price barely went below the pivots, but it's not a clear trend. Like this would be a clear trend up. This would be a clear trend down. This would be a clear trend up. But this wouldn't be a clear trend, you know, in either direction. So I wouldn't have taken, this wouldn't qualify. And since the first requirement hasn't been fulfilled, then there's no entry there. On top of that, there's a zone right here. So depending on how far this is from there, it's only like 14 pips. So depending on what your spread is, I have a tight spread, so I only have 1 pip, but for some people, it's going to be about 3 to 5 pips. So if your spread's 3 to 5 pips, it's not going to give you much cushion for you to exit this trade before it reaches the next zone. But I'll show you an example for over here. So this would be an actual good entry. So if we go over here, wait, actually, let me move this over here real quick. And then I'll rewind it to here. So using the same exact strategy that I just mentioned, you're going to identify the overall trend using the K2 pivots. Right here, price is above the K2 pivots. They're all angling upwards and they're spread out. That's going to confirm an uptrend. So the first requirement has been met. The next requirement is to identify a retracement pullback. So right here, I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a messy entry too. So let's skip this one because this went, even though this would qualify as a nice buy, because obviously it would hit full TP, it's going to be hard for you to identify it. For me, I could identify it because I just look at the chart and I'm like, all right, that this looks like it's going to swing upward. So let me just go over here to, let's say like this one over here. This would probably be a better one. Or even this one over here. This would actually be better. All right, so let me just go over the requirements again. So the requirements right here is to identify the overall trend. So you're identifying the overall trend using the K2 pivots. So right here, price is above the pivots are angling upwards and they're spread out. So this is a clear uptrend, right? First requirement's been met. Next, you identify the retracement pullback. So you can see that price came up right here and then it retraced from this point. From this point, it retraced downwards. So the second requirement has been met. Third requirement, identify a rejection off the K2 pivots area. You can see that price came down right here and then it rejected off the K2 pivots and shot right back up. So the third requirement has been met right there. Fourth requirement, identify a valid K2 signal. This is a valid buy signal, right? Because it's a buy signal with a green bullish candle. All the requirements have been met. You can enter on the open of the falling candle. You enter a long position right here. You let that run. Full TP. Easy as that. Let's see. Can you show any good pairs live? I mean, it's going to be hard to find a good pair. The market just opened and volatility is at an all-time low. You know, like I'm not sure if you understand how how the market works when the market reopens, but there's not much volatility right now, so it's going to be hard for you to find scalp entries when the market just opened. You probably have to wait, until there's actual volatility in the market, because it's just moving too slow right now. But I can go through each pair and see if there's anything worth taking right now. But if you're scalping, you're not going to find entries just by like staring at the chart like for a few minutes. You have to like literally wait like you're fishing, and then wait for an entry to actually appear. So just looking at these pairs here, it doesn't look like there's any entries right now, especially for Forex. Forex is probably the slowest market moving right now. So I'm not sure if you're trying to, okay, so right here, this would be a scalp entry for CAD CHF, but this is a slow moving pair. So I probably wouldn't take this trade. And I probably wouldn't even be trading right now because the market just opened. But if you really wanted to look for a scalp entry, this would be a scalp entry right here for CAD CHF. You put a sell stop right there. And then let me just adjust this right here. So we'll put our stop loss in the previous swing. And the thing is, I don't know what your spread's like, because see, if you're trying to scalp this right here, you need to have a tight spread. So I don't know what your spread's looking like, but this scalp right here is only like 5 pips. The spread's 3.2. So you're not even gonna make any profit before you get in and out of the trade. Because if you enter this trade, your spread's gonna be 3. So you're gonna be in this trade for a -3. And then when you get out, you have to pay the spread again for another 3 pips. So you're paying a 6 pip spread. You're not gonna make any profit off this trade unless it actually drops further than where it's supposed to go. So this would be a pivot entry if you had a scalp entry, a scalp pivot entry, if you had a good broker that had a tight spread. Spread right now is 3.2 for CAD CHF, so I wouldn't take this trade, even though this is a valid entry right here. CAD JPY, there's nothing there. CHF JPY, there was a scalp entry right here. Let's see, about an hour ago, but I didn't take it because I was in this webinar with you, so obviously I didn't take it. But this would have hit full TP right there. So, it's clear entry right there. Prices above the pivots, clear uptrend, retracement right here, rejection, buy signal, TP right there. So there goes that entry right there. Euro odd, nothing there. Euro CHF, this might be a scalp entry right here, but there's like no clear overall trend, so I probably wouldn't take it. Euro CHF, there's no entry there. If we get a sell signal, then yeah, there would be an entry. EG, EJ right here, no entry there. EN, this would have been an entry right here. This was when the market opened at 1650. So price was below the pivots, retracement, rejection, sell signal. That'd be a short position right there, 21 pips. So, I mean, like it's hard to show you live unless like I'm actually staring at the chart. I would have to be, for like the past 2 hours, I'd have to be looking at a specific pair. You can, and these candles close pretty quickly. They're 10-minute candles. So if I'm not looking at that specific candle or that specific pair at that time, like this entry right here, it's clearly a sell entry, price is below the pivots. We have the retracement, rejection, sell signal, short position right there. It's technically still active, but it's on its way to full TP right now. Nothing there. Nothing there for GCAD. Nothing there for GCHF. Nothing there for GJ. This would be a sell entry right here for GN. Right there. But the thing is, it's within a zone. So the problem is, if you're going to enter this trade, it could reject right off it before it hits full TP. So I probably wouldn't take that. GU, nothing there. NZD CAD, There's a buy signal right here that appeared at the same time as the other one that we went over earlier. Same thing at 1650. Price is above the pivots in a clear uptrend. We have a retracement right here. So price comes up, retraces, rejection off the pivots, buy signal, long position right there, full TP, NZDCHF. I mean, this technically would have been an entry right here, but like I mentioned, see how it rejected off the zones? I wouldn't have taken this trade, and it's only 6 pips. It spreads 5 pips. You're not going to make any money off this trade. So it just depends on your broker. You can't you have to have a good broker for you to scalp, and you have to actually know what you're doing. So right here, nothing there for NU, UCAD. Right here we had a buy signal. It was above the pivots within the zone. If you took the long position right here, it would hit full TP there for 10 pips. So there's a bunch of entries that you could have taken if you apply the strategy, but I mean, there's nothing available right now. Like you literally would have to be staring at the chart for you to find an entry. Like I can't go in between each, like I can't just click down each pair like every 10 minutes, you know. I could set alerts if I wanted to, but I don't scalp anymore. So there's like really, I only scalp when I need to. You know, if I need to make a lot of profit in a short amount of time, then I'll scalp. But I don't want to be on the chart all day looking for entries. So I mean, I just went down every single pair business paying. So if you want to go back and see what I just did, there was probably about like 4 good entries that you could have taken if you were applying the strategy. However, there's nothing currently available right now. But yeah, so I think that's it, guys. We've been on this webinar for almost 3 hours now. So hope that helps, guys. We'll have another webinar during the week, you know, during the live trading session. So once that happens, then we'll analyze a little deeper. But you guys have all of the zones lined up for you. If you want to go back and rewatch the webinar to pull those zones, go ahead and feel free. Otherwise, I will be available on the Telegram if you guys have any specific questions. So yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys later, and I'll try to hop back on maybe later tonight if it picks up. I don't think the market's going to pick up tonight. It looks pretty slow, but if it does, maybe I'll hop back on. But yeah, guys, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in the chat.